Good evening. Tempers flared at Universal Studios tonight when the park ran out of its signature drink, butterbeer. What started as disappointment soon grew into a noisy confrontation with security and police.
Merry Christmas. Ho, ho, ho. It's Christmas. Yeah. Sleigh bells ring. It's Christmas. Gift in my hand. It's Christmas. Rap quick, more Christmas. Right up the block. It's Christmas. Yeah.
Yo, move. Back up. Oh my God. It's hitting the monorail.
Get ready to blast beyond your imagination at the all-new Epic Universe theme park.
It's the adventure of every world in one place.
Thrill through twisting coasters, journey through cosmic frontiers, and end your night under dazzling...
Buckle up, time travelers. Blast through the past, rocket to the future, and hang on tight as you chase the clock in the ultimate adventure. It's fast, it's furious, and it's only at Universal Studios Orlando. Back to the...
Hello, neighbor. Welcome to the Capture the Magic channel. I'm so glad you found your way here. I've heard that the host, Jared, is a very handsome and charming guy. And you know something? I think you'll enjoy listening to him a whole lot.
Oh, I love it. That was a great.
Listen, I could. And then Mr. Rogers sent me a really nice. I had to put it in there. I felt like it was a good endorsement on the to have Mr. Rogers endorsing you. I also figured I found lots of Tupac rapping, and I was like, let's see if we can do a Christmas one. It kind of worked out. But welcome everybody to the live stream. A little later than we anticipated getting started, but you know what? It's cold in Florida. It's like, what is it, Slimer? 30 degrees down here now.
Right. Yeah, I woke up. It was 25 degrees where I live.
Yeah, that's too cold. It's too cold. It's just, keep us in your thoughts and prayers because it's really cold down here right now. We're not used to this weather, but yeah, so we have a lot of cool stuff to talk about. In fact, we've talked about many times about when will Epic Universe get a new expansion. It seems like that is very quickly on the horizon as there's some permits out there. And then we're also going to talk about Bob Iger had some interesting comments about the Pirates of the Caribbean that I think has it's made some waves, I guess you could say, in terms of what people thought about that. And I think at the end, we're probably going to do a little bit of a news roundup. There's a lot of stuff out there, and then whatever we end up talking about. So we're going to cover all that. And just say hi to the chat real quick. We've got Storybook Sorceress. What is up, Storybook? We got Giant Pad Adventures. I always think Panda. XVoot85. What is up? We have 7H John as well in here and some other ones. I can't see everyone, but that's who has commented so far. But before we get going, I want to introduce my lovely guest panel or co-host, however you want to call it, on here. As always, we're joined by Orange Grove 55. So, Orange Grove, thank you for being here. And where can everybody find you?
Jared, I love, and Slimer, I love doing these multi-channel streams. Theme parking, a lot of fun. The new intro is absolutely insanely good. As a Californian, you can never get too much Tupac, you know what I'm saying? And you even had Kobe behind him, didn't you? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah,
Kobe, and it was DMX and some other rapper, I think. And I did a couple of prompts and I couldn't get him off of there, but Kobe was in there, I guess. I guess it was all the greats that have passed potentially.
I love it. We love our legends. And Mr. Rogers, speaking of legends, he was in there. He had good things to say about you, Jared.
He did.
But yeah, you can find me if you're watching this on Jared's channel or Slimer's channel. You can find me on Orange Grove 55 on YouTube. You can also find me. I love Kiki and Luca. He's awesome. You can also find me on Instagram, Orange Grove 55.
Yes, sir. And we're joined as well by Mr. Slime Squared. I will just say, it is Veterans Day. Happy Veterans Day. Slimer is a veteran. And where can everybody find you in your parody account that you have on X and all the fun stuff? I can't talk. All the fun stuff you post over there.
Well, thank you very much, Jared. Happy Veterans Day to anybody else in the chat that's a veteran, and good to be here. We have some spicy things to talk about today. Some not so much. There is one in particular that I'm very intrigued in. And it doesn't have to do with Bob Iger, surprisingly. But I'm excited to talk about anything and everything theme parks. You guys can find me on all social medias at SlimeSquare84. And you can find me right on YouTube at SlimeSquare and Orange Grove 55.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, the first thing we will talk about, I usually try and find some random thing, and I couldn't find anything random other than the intro that I made there, which I did enjoy. I will say I'm going to try and find, I didn't try the prompt for... I tried a DMX rap and it didn't turn out very well. Tupac's turn out really well. So I don't know what it says about AI that they can do a Tupac rap well, but
maybe Tupac came back in the machine. That's where he lives now.
Listen, I did deep dives back in the day. I was a hip hop head back when I was in like high school and like early in college. I was fairly convinced for a long period of time that Tupac really wasn't dead. I actually don't know where I stand on it now because that whole thing is very weird.
I'm telling you, I was the same way, Jared. I'm still a hip hop guy, but I mean, I was convinced that he was going to rise after like 7 years and be like, here I am, you know, like, cause there was a lot of like foreshadowing with his albums about how he was going to go down and fake his death and come back. But hey, you never know, you know. I mean, there will never be another Pac. Pac was a crazy, in a good way, icon. I mean, he really did amazing things. He was not just a rapper, but he really changed culture and brilliant mind. I love Pac. I can go on for the whole show on him.
Well, then you have the Machiavelli album where it does sound like he says Suge shot me. Like after he died, you remember that? And there's a whole bunch of things in the songs. Like I remember like being late at night looking at that and getting spooked out. I'm like, oh, he's not even gone. But either way, he was great. And there's actually an unreleased Biggie and Tupac freestyle that I still have, where they like at the height of their beef, they did a freestyle thing together, and it's really good. I'll send it over to you. You'd like it, OG.
Okay, cool.
At some music festival or something like that. But I think this was on your channel, but Kiki and Luca did say you guys are the sexiest men on YouTube. I mean, oops. Uh-oh. Wait, hold on. There we go. I mean, maybe Mr. Rogers thinks as well. I mean, we can't. I'm not going to argue against that.
He's not wrong.
Kiki and Luca also says, thank you for our service, veterans. Michael Hardrick 3647 says, big things coming to Universal. We need a Universal Kids Resort, Universal Horror Unleashed in Florida, and we need Comcast to get WB. We're going to talk about probably most of that. That is going to be the first thing we hit here. Somewhat Epic Universe, as well as Rogue Attraction says thoughts on the new military pass for Disney. We're also going to talk about that also. And then 7H John says the painting picture of Iwo Jima looks good, Slimer.
Thank you. Painted it myself, actually. I
Man of many
actually
talents.
a light and dark charcoal mix right here.
Did you really?
No.
I was like, wait a minute. I was like, I have some requests if you have this talent that you didn't tell us about.
That was convincing though, Slimer. That was actually I actually was kind of buying into it.
Usually I can read you, and I was like, I can't tell if he's joking or not. And then we do have a super chat X Voot for $5. Thank you, sir. Says, Jared, are you really going to ride the new coaster at Universal Studios? I remember we hit your 500 goal a couple weeks ago. Thanks to you all. I'm going to. I was bullied by the chat, and I will in fact do that. I've never rooted for more slow theme park construction out there, but yes, that is the plan there. And then Storybook Sorceress says, well, Kiki and Lucas says hi Geek Village, but I meant to say Storybook Sorceress says thank you for your service, Slimer. So absolutely. All right, let's get into our first story, which is a pretty big deal considering we've talked about this, which is Universal has filed one permit for a massive new expansion of Epic Universe. This is from Blog Mickey. Basically, this is the permit right here. The expiration date is May 7th of 2026. This is for foundation work. So it says specifically it is for site utilities and foundation work, and it's at Epic Universe for 150,000 square feet. So if you do the math on that, that is roughly, give or take, 3 acres. And if you look at, I can actually find the map here. Give me 1 second. Potential spots this could go. This kind of gives us a really good idea of what we could be looking at here. Get this open. That is really a small picture. I should have had all this ready to go, but I did not. Give me 1 second. Let me find a bigger picture of this.
Everybody check your Instagrams, check your X while we're waiting.
3 acres while you're looking for that. I mean, 3 acres to me seems more expansion pad.
Yeah, well, I can't find it. So basically, you've got expansion pads in the Wizarding World that are 3.5 acres. You have an expansion pad for Super Nintendo World that is 7 acres. You have an expansion pad for Dark Universe that's also 3.5 acres. So those are basically the 3 potential spots it could go. There is a 20.5 acre spot that's a future land where they can put it. Don't think this would apply to that. So essentially, you're looking at more than likely. I think the consensus and what I have heard since I did my video on this is very likely that it's going to be Wizarding World getting an expansion, but you could have Dark Universe and then, Super Nintendo World. They could split that into two potentially and throw in half Zelda, half Luigi's Mansion, something like that. But that's basically the permit. There's nothing really else about that permit. Blog Mickey and a lot of other places, again, are pretty convinced that it's going to be Wizarding World. And I'm on that train now from what I have heard. I've heard from a few people at Universal that pretty good indication that's where it's likely looking. And if you look at it, it only has one ride in there. So that also makes sense. I guess the question I would have is, and we can talk about all of it, whatever you guys want to talk about as well, but do you think the appetite is there for, say, more Wizarding World, considering you already have it in the existing parks? You've got another one here. Whereas, Super Nintendo, maybe Dark Universe, I think might have more hype around them. Because the other thing I would say about Wizarding World is that whole land is based off the Fantastic Beasts. And I don't know, are they going to do another ride based off the 1990s Harry Potter? Or how would they really even approach that? What do you guys think?
It's tough. I mean, yeah, I'm wondering the same thing. Right now, the viability of this franchise, I'm not really sure where it's at. Right, because the last big thing we got from the Wizarding World was like you were saying, Jared, Fantastic Beasts, and those movies didn't do well. Well, actually, I take that back. The video game did very well. I forgot the name of that. The game that came out that actually kind of crushed.
Hogwarts Legacy.
Yeah, and that was a few years ago. But I don't know, man. I don't feel like Potter is as relevant as it was maybe a decade ago. I feel like the interest in it is waning, at least on a franchise level. Now, in terms of the land itself, with one attraction, yeah, you do need another one in there to kind of flush out that land. I think for a theme park land, I think it makes sense. But I'm with you though. I don't know if people are really wanting more Potter. I don't know, but we'll see.
Would it be? My thinking is it could be too much Potter. We'll find out about where it's at. And I think the original Harry Potter does still have interest. I think Fantastic Beasts, given that was a prequel, obviously didn't do very well. And they did change the plans in this land because this whole thing in the ride was going to be Fantastic Beasts until those movies didn't do well. And they kind of made that ride feature the original characters. Obviously, that new show is going to start on HBO Max. So we'll find out how that is and what the reaction is to it. But I'm kind of the same way. I don't know 10, 20 years down the road, kind of where Harry Potter is. I think there are some questions there. Obviously, it's been very successful for Universal, and they're great lands. I think Nintendo is, I've said many times, I think Nintendo potentially is bigger for Universal than the Wizarding Worlds have been, just how big video games and Nintendo is. Slimer, what do you think? Where do you think about Harry Potter, or do you think this is likely where it's going? Do you think there's any risks with this? What do you think?
I don't think there's as much risk as some people might think. I think Harry Potter is still pretty relevant. I mean, the fact that Ministry of Magic still gets or Battle Ministry rather, gets 200-minute wait times, I think that's pretty insane. And it's a high volume ride as well. The other rides still high wait times. You go to Hagrid's any time of the day, it's a 60 to 120-minute wait. I think the popularity is still there. I think maybe if you give it another 5 or 10 years and then they try to execute a new ride then without coming out with this new show or coming out with a new film, I think that it would be at risk. But I think the risk is actually relatively low. I also think that the kind of ride system they implement might make a difference here as well. Because if they go with another Kuka arm ride, that's going to be derivative. If they do, Battle at the Ministry again, okay. If they do a C ticket attraction, a lot of people aren't going to go for that as well. Which is something that seems to be quite a bit of a blueprint when you look at a lot of these themed lands where they'll do an E ticket attraction, then a C ticket attraction, and then a show. So I hope they don't go that route. I don't know if they'd pull it off just because it'd probably belong in Hogsmeade a little bit better. But if they did a Quidditch ride based off of Flight of Passage, I think that would be awesome. Yeah. And it'd be a high volume ride as well. So I think this is an idea that's actually been floating around the internet. I saw Steve over at Noble Way mention this. And it was funny because I was thinking about it and then he said it. I was just like, wait a minute. I was like, get out of my head, Steve. But I think that'd be a really cool attraction. They probably would have to try to figure out if there's any sort of restriction as to that ride utilization outside of a Disney property, because typically what happens is a lot of times they'll make these rides and then, Disney will say, all right, nobody used this ride technology for 50 years or, something like that. So, but if they can get around that, make a Quidditch ride, and if the Harry Potter fans are excited enough and forgive enough to forgive that it's not in Hogsmeade, I think that'd be a really cool way to go. Anything outside of that, I don't know, man. I think the execution of the ride would make a real huge deal here.
Yeah, I agree. And before we move on, it will say Xvoot has another $2. So thank you, Xvoot. Says the new series on HBO may bring back popularity. Now that much, I think potentially it really could. It really depends on, much like the rides we're talking about, the execution of that show.
Yes. Well, and here's the other thing too, and we're going to discuss it in today's live, but like if Comcast Universal is able to acquire Warner Brothers, that's going to change the whole dynamic with what they do with Potter, because now you're going to have Universal, who Universal does very well fostering their IPs, right? Whether it be what they've done for Illumination, which has done very well, DreamWorks very well. They've done a good job with this stuff. I have no doubt in my mind, if Comcast were to own Warner Brothers and all those amazing properties, which include Potter, you would see them handling the film side very well for this franchise. That's going to change what they put in the parks as well. So we'll kind of see how that shakes out. I kind of feel though, and I could be wrong, and we'll discuss it, I kind of feel like the Comcast is like kind of like the favorite right now, and we'll kind of discuss it later. But I think there's a good chance. I really do.
They're kind of shaping up that way, and this is a good point too by Jared Journeys, which I will say, another Jared. Welcome to the Council of Jareds. Although it is spelled incorrectly. I'm kidding. I recognize my way, but there's like 95 different ways to spell Jared. But Jared Journeys says Xvoot. He's talking about the full cast audiobooks for Harry Potter just started coming out also. And those have been very popular as well. I guess I should clarify. I don't mean Harry Potter doesn't have relevance now. I just have questions in the next 10, 20 years if there's not some sort of revitalization of it. Maybe this show does that or something along those lines. But, is it going to have the staying power that Star Wars had without new stuff coming out? I'm not saying, like, I agree with Slimer. I think doing it now isn't necessarily a bad move. It's just I do have questions about the way that land is set up to how would they theme it? Now, obviously, if you look at Epic Universe, first off, this park needs more stuff to do. So this is a very welcome thing to hear. And it needs more indoor stuff to do. So I'm going to assume, and from what I've heard, this will be an indoor attraction. It needs to be something that is a people eater. It needs to just have a huge capacity to be able to move more people through it, especially in that land with as much interest as you have as Battle of the Ministry. So I think it's a good question you have, Slimer, because I think a lot of the rides people love are these classic dark rides. Yeah. But I feel like if today a lot like Disney or Universal came out with a ride that is beloved as a brand new thing, they'd be like, oh, this is too simple. I don't like it. Like everybody has these expectations of these like super immersive Battle of the Ministry type of rides. But on some level, you do need these B and C level rides that just have a lot of demand that move people through them. And so I do wonder which direction they go. And like, you're going to have more stuff in this park on some level as they fill out more attractions. Like not everything's going to be this headlining thing. So I do wonder, given 3 acres, and we're looking at the spot here. I mean, this is the expansion pad for Battle or for the Ministry of Magic. I mean, Battle of the Ministry is right here. So you've got plenty of space here. You probably have the entrance of it be over there in this area. So when I made my video, nobody had gotten back to me yet from what I've heard. I do think it will end up being Ministry of Magic that gets this. And yeah, just whatever it is has to be indoors, and hopefully it has a lot of people that it can move people through. A lot of people, I will say.
A couple of things that I do want to touch upon too. With Harry Potter as a franchise, or Wizarding World as a franchise, right? One thing that I've seen over and over and over again is a lot of times, like these franchises don't necessarily correlate with. Like, for example, you can have an unpopular franchise, but the attraction or the show could be very popular in the theme park, right? Waterworld is a perfect example of that in Hollywood. I don't really care for Cars as a franchise. I'm not like one of the people that I really love the movies, but the land at DCA is top-notch Imagineering. One of my favorite things Disney's ever done in a theme park environment, a theme park space. We have Monsters Inc., Mike and Sully to the rescue out here at DCA for a few more months. That's one of Pixar's most popular brands or franchises, but the attraction doesn't really, it's not that popular. So even if, let's say, hypothetically, Wizarding World as a franchise falls off, Universal would probably still enjoy the lands and the attractions being very popular, because I do see growing evidence there is a separation here with some of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see.
Well, and I can attest to that with, I always say sidebar. It looks like we're going to have to go to Disneyland sooner than we hoped, because our son is like massively into cars again. He kind of goes through cycles of stuff. In the past 2 weeks, he's like, car fest, like everything cars has been on our TV like nonstop, and my wife and I were talking, like he would freak out going into Radiator Springs. So we may have to make that happen sooner than I was anticipating. But I agree with you. They're talking about like even Avatar. I don't care about Avatar. I love Pandora. I think it is the best of the newer lands Disney has done. So you can have, like, even if an IP is maybe not the most relevant, if the ride is great, it can definitely overcome an IP for sure, and vice versa, like you were saying. So I don't think they're there with Harry Potter to be a worry. My whole thing was just thinking, I think there would just be more demand, and some people even said when they were building Epic Universe, like another Wizarding World. Like you already have 2 of them. You've got one in Hollywood. Whereas I do think there's a lot of interest in, say, Zelda or some other addition to Super Nintendo World, being how popular Nintendo is in video games and etc., which I'm sure they'll do. Even if this is the first one they do, I don't think this is the last of the announcements that we've heard from basically what they're going to expand into Epic Universe.
Whatever they put in this space, though, can we at least get a good story, unlike Pirates of the Caribbean? Come on.
Bob Iger will be the judge of that, I tell you.
Come on.
The story's terrible. I don't even like it. Yeah, and like I had talked about Dark Universe, that rumored ride system from Mack Rides, that water coaster thing. From what I've heard, that is definitely on the table, but I wonder if this is, and I haven't had this confirmed by any means, but I have got the impression, like I've been saying for months, they're going to announce stuff soon. And kind of people thought I was crazy, because all I was hearing from people at Universal was like, oh, it's coming. And I'm like, well, I thought you would have announced it last month. And like, don't worry, it's coming. So like, I think we're going to see a slew of these things. I shouldn't say announcements, permits, because Universal doesn't really announce these things. You just have permits. And it goes into as well, like if they are able to get WB, that does change the equation, because they're going to have, they're not going to pay a licensing fee, give a lot more freedom with other IPs. So I think, as I've been saying for a long time, Universal is like pedal to the metal. Just this next decade, they're just going to go at like breakneck speed. Also because the other side of their business isn't doing great, and they're wanting to definitely get more money out of the theme parks. And the only way you're going to do that is to create more attractions.
No, you're 100%, Jared. And the other thing too is we've all been in this community a really long time, and there was a huge lead up to Epic Universe and how worried or not worried Disney should be for Epic Universe, right? And I think all three of us had a very grounded kind of perspective on that, where it's like, okay, I think Disney needs to address it, but it's not going to be the end of the Walt Disney Company, or it's not going to knock Disney back, whatever. I am telling you right now, though, if Comcast is able to acquire Warner Brothers, that is something that will very much worry Disney, and it should.
Oh yeah.
Because that impacts them on multiple fronts. Number one, they will have the biggest streaming service with the HBO Max and the Peacock. That would help their streaming service, their IP library, the theme park. It's crazy. We'll get into it, but I'm telling you, that would be something that Disney would be very nervous about, and they absolutely should.
Well, and like I've always said about Epic, before I do that, sorry, Xvoot had another super chat, another $5. Thank you, Xvoot. He says, Vekoma is working on a Thrill Glider coaster. This is a suspended motorbike coaster under the track. This would be perfect for a broomstick ride. That is something. There was the proposal out there. I think it was a VR-based broomstick ride that got scrapped. But I do think, like you were saying, Slimer, Quidditch or something with a broomstick, maybe even that same, like the Monsters Inc. ride system where you're suspended, whatever it is, I think that would go over well. Now, from what I've heard, I don't believe that is what's going in here. I think I would think much more in the line of thinking of a dark ride kind of concept. I can't really say too much more, but that's kind of what I'm getting the idea of. So I would love that, but I don't believe, at least at this point, what I've heard, that's what this is going to be. But yeah, I mean, I think as they add more things into Epic, and I've said many times, I think people underestimate how aggressive they're going to be, partially because they have momentum, and I think they feel like that they can continue to eat into market share, but also because of the other side of their business, they need to make money from the parks. So they're just going to double and triple down on this side. And if they are able to hit that cadence, which they have said before, where they want a new attraction every year open, if you look at these announcements or what's coming, you got Rip Ride Rocket with that one is going to come online the earliest. Lost Continent, maybe this one. They may be in the midst of kind of hitting that cadence where the next year we have a new attraction opening every single year. And if they hit that cadence, that is going to be very tough to compete with. Well, especially if you're Disney, because depending on their construction speed, whenever they get whatever they're building done.
No, 100%, Jared. And then and Universal has shown an interest in California, Hollywood, a lot more now than ever, really. I mean, they're bullish on Hollywood now too, so that's part of the equation. Yeah, it's going to be tough. And Disney, you know, their construction timelines, and look, it's done intentionally. You know what I'm saying? It is done intentionally, 100%. But they build things slower. They like to spread these things out over more fiscal periods, you know, and it's a different approach, but it just takes forever, you know, and Universal knocks them out. So,
yeah.
And I've always said that, you know, when it comes to keeping the guests coming, for Universal Studios, they're going to have to play a different game than Disney, obviously, because they're in different places when it comes to how much attendance that they have. Well, not so much attendance, but how much of the fan base that they've been able to lock in. Obviously, Disney has a lot more global attendance than Universal Studios. So Universal Studios is in a position of market share growth, whereas Disney's really just trying to stabilize and maintain. But, you know, Universal Studios has to bring quality attractions to market very quickly. And, you know, they've already stated this. It's just a matter of execution at this point. But, you know, when it comes to Epic Universe, I think a couple of things that we can kind of utilize is like a gauge to test where they're going to go with ride systems is look, they're going to say, look, here's the mission statement. 1, it's got to be epic. 2, in this case, it's got to be a reliable ride. Like, they can't do another Battle of the Ministry. That thing is just now starting to run reliably. And it's, you know, this park's been open for 6-7 months now. And then 3, it's got to be something they can bring to market expediently. So, you know, 1 year, 2 years, and it's up and running with maybe a 6-month turnaround time in reliability from opening day. And that's going to be the strategy moving forward. It's got to be epic. It's got to be expedient, and it's got to be something that we can open in 1 to 2 years. So I think that that's a really good strategy. They are in market share growth. Either way, you know, whether another company buys Warner Brothers or whether it's Comcast, I think that for Universal Studios, they're in a race against time. They're in a race against time right now, whether they get it or whether another company gets Warner Brothers, because if they don't get Warner Brothers, they have to bang out as many rides as possible or at least get as many permits approved as fast as possible before they have to renegotiate licensing for IP that they have in their parks. And if they get Warner Brothers, then again, I mean, they have things in the chute right now that are already approved. They already have budgeted for, and they have to get it out before renegotiations again occur because they just acquired, you know, Warner Brothers. Of course, this is all hypothetical, but these are things that will happen either way.
Yeah. No, it's the very good points. And I think if you look at Epic Universe itself, like they even said in the earnings call, Mike Cavanaugh said that they still have a park capacity. They're looking to, you know, be free of that. They think they can make a lot of headway, which, like you were saying, Battle of the Ministry is getting better. A lot of these rides are getting more reliable. And as I've been saying, like, people have asked me like when they should go to Epic. I'm like, honestly, I love Epic. I think it's a great park, but if I was looking to spend big money, I'm waiting a year before doing that because they just have to get through these issues. And so they're kind of doing that. And they indicate they think they can make a lot of headway in the wait times with, you know, getting these rides more operational, maybe having more efficiency in them. But on some level, you just have to have more stuff to do here. So this is a great thing to see. And I agree completely with you. This thing needs to be built quick. And you likely need to have, 2 or 3 more things in this park to really be able to get 40, 50,000 guests in this park. Unless maybe they can make that much room up and wait time differences. Maybe 2 attractions in here could really make a difference if they are just, kind of like Monsters Unchained, where it just moves people through it like crazy. But I think, they did hire an indoor firm, or a firm that specializes in like indoor attractions. So I think obviously they're going to go that route, because the other issue here is when it rains, most of the park shut down, which is not going to help anything out. So I think Epic is a great park that will, it's definitely going to be their flagship park. And I think it's a great cornerstone for them to build off of. And I really think in the next 5 to 10 years, it's going to be kind of crazy. And like where they can go. I mean, there's a lot of hypotheticals about Disney stuff, how people react to it, and Universal stuff. But I think regardless, as I've been saying, you're heading to a scenario where you have 2 co-leaders in the market. You got Disney and Universal, and it's not going to change. I mean, Universal's not going to go back to how they were in 2008. They just can't as a company. I think Comcast would be in major trouble if they had issues on the theme park side. So there's just so much going, money into this stuff, interest into this stuff. And this is why I like competition, because Disney's not only going to have to answer for Epic Universe, they're going to have to answer for whatever else Universal builds is the next step on this.
One of the things, though, for this particular permit being filed for like 3 acres or something like that.
Yeah,
I really hope that isn't Zelda, just because I feel Zelda, or like people mentioned, Lord of the Rings, these are franchises you need some room to breathe.
Agreed.
Right? I don't want to see that crammed into 3 acres. I don't even know if you could physically even do Lord of the Rings in 3 acres, but Zelda, you shouldn't even try that as well. I mean, these need to be epic, no pun intended, but they need to be epic and big and sprawling and like, oh my God, you know what I'm saying? So this has to be an expansion of some kind, because it's not big enough for its own thing, unless it's like a little like, and God, I hope not, but unless it's like a little land, like that DreamWorks kiddie area that they did over there at the studio park. I mean, it could be something like that, and I hope
I
not.
I don't think they're going to do that. I would be very disappointed if they did. Real quick before we go on, Xvoot had another super chat. Thank you, Xvoot.
Yes.
Very generous this fine, cool Florida evening. Says WB buyout, Lord of the Rings, Brian Roberts pay up.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I mean, if they do, well, I think there's potentially it's going into the UK park. I know that's something I've heard a lot of people say they would like. I would be very curious if they got Lord of the Rings, maybe Comcast would do more with it, because currently, like, I don't think they had a re-release of that movie for the 20th, did they? I'm trying to remember, like in the theaters.
I don't remember.
So. But doesn't Amazon have part ownership in some of this?
They have
stuff?
the Silmarillion, which is they don't have the main Lord of the Rings story. It's like I guess it would be considered their prequel. I'm not a Lord of the Rings expert by any means, but I know some friends that are really into it. It's like the preamble essentially of what Tolkien wrote. Mm-hmm. That's what they have the rights to. But they don't have the rights to, like, they can't say the names like Gandalf or, Frodo. I don't think they can even say Hobbit technically, but they have a lot of limitations on what they're able to do with that stuff. But well,
also another franchise, I believe that's owned by Warner Brothers, that I could see Universal maybe dabbling in, would be Game of Thrones, because I understand like a lot of the subject matter in Game of Thrones isn't exactly family friendly, but I think in a theme park space, you can do it in a way that would be okay, right? I mean, if Disney can put Deadpool in the parks, I'm sure Universal could figure out Game of Thrones, and that would be freaking sick, dude. I mean, the aesthetics, the dragons, I mean, that would be really cool.
Yeah. No, I mean, absolutely. Slimer, did you have something you were going to say before I don't know if I cut you off or not?
No, not really. I think it was more in line with our next subject, which was Comcast potentially buying out Warner Brothers. So I'll wait until then.
All right. Yeah, we'll talk about that. You guys have any closing thoughts on this expansion? And then I'll catch up on the chat before we head over into talk about Comcast.
I'm just excited. I'm glad to see Universal getting really, or not even getting, but they have been really bullish on their theme parks, and it's good to see. And I'm with you, Jared. Competition is good. I have been really, I'm going through my Universal era right now, and I've been really enjoying the Hollywood Park lately this year. Been going a lot, so I'm more in tune with it than I've ever been. So I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Can't wait to see what they got planned.
Yeah, seconding OG. I think that the Ministry of Magic is definitely the right land to put it in. even though Nintendo is overcrowded, like really overcrowded right now, Zelda just doesn't. It's too big of an IP to put in there. I think that there's better places, better ways to utilize that. And when it comes to Darkmoor, that land's fine. I mean, the Monsters ride has such a high capacity. It really doesn't need another attraction at this point. Like maybe if they added it as an add-on ticket to Halloween Horror Nights 2, 3, 4 years down the road, when like it's like, you know, it's busting at the seams over at the other park, then I could see them putting in another attraction. But yeah, this is the right move. This land needs it.
Well, especially it's only got one attraction, so it makes sense. I don't disagree with putting it there. My only thinking was just where that overall demand for it is, but I think we'll find out into you know how that show goes and all that stuff and whatever. I will be very curious to see if they go the same route with this ride, if that's what they're doing in here, if it's going to be like the Time Turner stuff where you're going into the 90s Harry Potter, or if they're basing it on Fantastic Beasts, I suppose. But like you were saying, if it's a really good ride, it's not going to make that big of a difference in terms of the IP they use. I think that's probably more of a secondary thing there. But all right,
I mean, if they could take the Monsters franchise, which is a 100+ year franchise, and make a banger attraction with that, and people love it, I think, I agree.
Look what they did with Supercharged. It's a classic. Everyone loves Supercharged. I mean,
right.
All right, let me get. You guys are chatting like crazy. Definitely appreciate it. All right, I'm gonna try and catch up on a lot of these here. Let's see. I'm gonna have to pick a spot in the middle here. If I miss your chat, I apologize. Let's see. I'm Nojnit, maybe. I probably got that wrong. Battle of the Ministry is likely 200-minute wait times because they're running at less than 50% capacity. I know that's been the case. I don't know where it's at currently, but I know they were having issues. At one point, they would only get like a handful of the ride cars at one time going, and they had the potential up to like 16. So I don't know where they're at currently with it, but I know early on that was definitely an issue that they were having, for sure. But I think, like you were saying, Slimer, at full capacity, that thing does move people through it. It's just whether or not they're there yet. Let's see. 7H John says at Capture the Magic, adults aren't fans of the Nintendo Land. I mean, I am. I mean, I'm maybe not all adults, but I love Super Nintendo World.
Yeah, those are fighting words for Seymour.
I mean,
oh yeah, big time.
Listen, I mean, I would argue vehemently, but you know, to each their own. Thrill Abi says, "Ayo, OG and crew, what it do?
What's going on, Thrill Abi? It's good to see you.
What it do?" Storybook Sorcerer says, "Also, I heard you talking about what it could be on the podcast, Jared, and they do have a Broom VR experience in the New York store that would work for a ride like Soarin'. Now that would be cool."
Yeah.
I've also talked about like the Flight of Passage, but you're riding a broomstick instead of the Avatar thing. I think that could be pretty cool if they did that.
I think that's just going to be the way to go, just from like a reliability standpoint. I mean, you don't want to overburden the engineers and the maintenance crew with two high-tech rides that have all these moving parts that have to work perfectly. And I just can't see them. I just can't see them go with another complex dark ride.
You bring up a good point that it needs to be something simple, that it doesn't have these issues, because I agree there.
Well, and also I kind of feel too, a lot of the Potter rides have a little bit of an edge to them in a lot of ways, where it's like even Forbidden Journey, for example, it's not a roller coaster, but like, is your grandma really going to go on that thing? I mean, it's kind of intense still, you know?
Right. Yeah.
It would be kind of cool to get a Potter ride that doesn't have any of that. And it's like a Pirates or a Haunted Mansion where you're going through something. It's very classic dark ride. Everybody can go on it. There's no issues with claustrophobia or heights or motion sickness, just a good everybody ride. And Potter doesn't really have anything like that right now that I could think of.
The only thing they have Flight of the Hippogriff, which is the kiddie coaster. But other than that, you're right. I mean, most of it is pretty, it's not as much for kids. And there's a decent amount of kids that are into Harry Potter as well. Now this was floated years ago, but there was an idea. I don't know if it was an actual rumor or just, fans wanted it, of a water ride in studios that would maybe take over Supercharged. Was kind of a talk of expanding Diagon Alley and doing that. So, I do think something that's much more like family friendly, moves a lot of people through it, is definitely something that they could definitely look at and would probably be very useful. Keegan Lucas says Papa Asidu is going to be Snape. What do you guys think about a black Snape? I'm not going to act like I'm a Harry Potter expert, but I'm not a fan. I wouldn't be a fan of Black Panther being played by, name an actor, John Hamm. I mean, I think in terms of like it changes a lot of the story elements by switching that up, but they seem to be going that route. I don't know. I mean, I suppose if it is really well done, they could get by with it, but I have heard a lot of Harry Potter fans being pretty down on that. And from its face, you're just typically like, oh, Hollywood, they're going to change stuff up again. But
I'm kind of a wait and see when it comes to stuff like that, just because you just never know. Like for example, like Nick Fury, from what I understand, I'm not a big comic guy, but Nick Fury was a white guy, I believe, in the comics.
He was until they did. There was
the Ultimate series.
Yeah, the Ultimate, where they basically based it off Samuel Jackson in the comics, and that's who ended up playing in the movies.
Or the new play, yeah. So I mean, I think as long as I don't know who this gentleman is. I mean, he may be terrible in the role. He may be awesome, but I'm open to it. But again, I'm with you, Jared. I'm not like a big Potterhead, so I'm not like super like invested. I don't know like the lore and anything like that. So maybe the Potter fans that have they have issues with that, but I don't know. I'm kind of like a wait and see kind of thing.
It could change the elements. There's parts in the book where Harry's dad was a bully to Snape, and they do something with a tree. We'll put it that way. That could completely change the concept. The how that is received. And I think if they take it that route of making it about that, I think that's not going to be the route to go, but we'll see. I don't know. I think John Lithgow, from what some of the set pictures, looks pretty good as Dumbledore, at least thus far. But that show, though, the cost of that show, I think I saw where it was going to be like, it's in the billions of what it's going to be over 10 years. The scale of it is insane.
I think they have the same accountant that Disney has. They just can't seem to
right.
They're like, how much? Just do it. Whatever. Let's say we have oh my goodness, I'm going to get this wrong. Rohirrim. This is terrible. Rohirrim of Gondor. I messed that up.
Of Gondor.
There we go. DC could replace Marvel easily. As sad as I would be for Spider-Man, Batman would replace Spider-Man. Superman could replace Hulk. I had a video yesterday talking about that, considering where Comcast might be with this, and Six Flags is not doing well. They're closing parks. They're in a lot of money trouble, and I don't really think it. I think if Universal were able to get DC, don't think it would be that difficult to get those rights from Six Flags. If I were to guess,
I would guess Six Flags wants a big check right now. They probably need it. So
yeah.
I think I saw they're in the billions in terms of how much they lost. I think they had some sort of write-off thing or something like that. But either way, they literally said they're closing theme parks and going to try and narrow down the amount of parks they have. So not looking good for them.
Yeah.
Thrillabee says Little Witch Boy. I think Hey Bricky had said that before.
Yeah. Thrillabee. That's funny. Yeah. He calls him Little Witch Boy. I think that's great.
I mean, technically he's not wrong.
No,
he's not wrong there. Let's see here. I'm going to try and get caught up as much as I can. If I missed your chat, I apologize. The chat's moving like crazy. Appreciate you guys being here. Let's see. Jared Journey says, if Universal Hollywood added Pokemon, that could help them fight Disney, but we are years away from the next land or big e-ticket after the coaster, while DCA is getting 4 attractions over the next 5 years or less.
Pokemon's a tough one because Pokemon has like 3 different owners or something like that. So that's gonna be
might even have 5. It's got a bunch.
Oh my gosh, yeah. See, that's gonna be a tough one.
I have heard though that it is that they're probably gonna do it. I just don't. That maybe they've all worked that out, but that would be huge if they're able to put that in the Universal parks for sure. Cody Anderson says, I think it will be a bidding war versus Netflix. Netflix just opened their first theme experience and they want to expand. That is also true. I've talked about that before. They're opening up those Netflix houses that I think are testing for some things that they might do in the future for sure.
Netflix needs to diversify, right? They can't be a streaming company forever. I mean, they technically could, but it wouldn't be good business if they were to do that. So opening these themed experiences, even honestly, as much as I want Universal to buy Warner Brothers, even buying Warner Brothers and having that your theatrical arm would be a smart move for Netflix. So, I think a lot of these moves make sense for them. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes down. I mean, they have right now one of the most popular things on the planet with K-pop Demon Hunter. So
Very good point. That's a very good point. And then I'll do this one here and I'll move on to our Comcast discussion. But Cody Anderson says, I don't want Disney World to get Marvel yet. Make them invest more in Disneyland first. The thing is, if they were able to get Marvel, you would not see it in the Disney World parks, in my opinion, for like 10 to 15 years. Because I just don't think while they're building all this stuff, I think it would be a while. And then, I mean, if you're Universal, if you're able to do this and get the DC rights, they would also be in control of DC and potentially where the MCU is, especially after Doomsday. Like, it's very iffy on where the MCU currently is. If they were able to, in my opinion, I'm not a big fan of the new Superman movie, but, get the DCU universe really ramped up that you're in full control of, then you would have potentially the biggest comic book franchise going in your theme parks. That would be a nice transition for Universal because they did benefit from the MCU, even though they didn't have it in the parks. But there was more interest in Marvel due to the MCU's popularity for sure. So if they're able to do it, that would be it'd almost be a genius move. And it would, and currently they can't do anything with Marvel Superhero Island. It's a time capsule.
Well, exactly. and for Universal, it's a win-win for them because most people don't even know that, Marvel is Disney. They just know that Marvel is in Islands of Adventure, and that's where all Spider-Man and Hulk and Thor and Fantastic Four is. And the parents don't know the difference. They just know their kid wants to go ride Fantastic Four and go ride Spider-Man, so they take them to that park. And most people don't know the difference. They don't know that Disney owns Marvel. They just know Marvel is these movies and these characters, and those characters are in this park, and that's where they got to go take their kid because that's where he wants to go.
Yeah.
So for Universal, I mean, it's a win-win scenario. Whether they keep them or get rid of them, I really don't think that Universal carries either one way. I mean, that land is bought and paid for, and the licensing rights for that land got locked in 20 plus years ago. It's cheap. They're doing it on a budget.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm not even sure Disney really cares, though, to be honest. And I think that might be why we're seeing it drag on for so long, because Disney kind of benefits as well, having the licensing go to them. And they have a presence in their biggest competitor's park. So even for Disney, there's like a benefit where every time you buy anything Marvel at Island of Adventure, I mean, a chunk of that goes to Disney still.
I agree. So it's like, I agree, man. It's a win-win for both of them. They don't have to spend $500 million in a Marvel land just so they can say they have a Marvel land. And the same thing goes with The Simpsons too. They're going to come out with the movie here in 2 years? Yeah. Next year? I don't know. But yeah, that benefits Disney in massive ways. The merchandising in The Simpsons land is still extremely popular.
Yeah, I think they cared a lot more probably at the peak of the MCU. I would assume Disney would like to have them. I'm imagining whatever price. I would imagine they've had talks about it, and whatever price it was basically they're just like no. I'm sure if this scenario came up, I think the interesting thing would be, would Disney buy the rights off of them, or would Universal just let them go? Because if they let them go, it defaults to Disney.
I think it depends on if they get Warner Brothers or not.
Right, that's what I'm saying. If they get Warner, now if they don't get Warner Brothers, like I've made the argument a long time, they're not ever doing anything with the Marvel Superhero Island because they just keep it out of Disney's hands. Yeah. But if this situation fell into their laps, that I think is one way that this would get replaced. But we got Theme Park Conductor. What's up, Theme Park Conductor?
What's going on, buddy?
We will get another e-ticket after the coaster at Universal Studios Hollywood, or land in 5 years, and have more faith in Universal than Disney, to be honest. I think they're going to be aggressive in both coasts. I mean, they've shown that they're going to do a lot of stuff in Hollywood, like a hotel and things like that. So I think that, they're going to be very aggressive. Here's
the other thing, too, that we should consider. Why I think Disney is sort of kind of falling back a little bit with this Marvel rights thing. They can literally use Marvel pretty much anywhere else. I mean, we already have a presence in Paris. We have it at Disneyland in Anaheim. Mm-hmm. They're stacking their cruise ships with the Marvel stuff. The new Destiny has like a Deadpool stand-up show. And so it's not like they're like not able to use it. It's just at Walt Disney World. So it just depends on how much they really care enough to put. And it's not even all the characters. It's only certain characters they can't use, because we have, Guardians over there. So I just don't know how much of a priority, you know what I'm saying? We'll see.
Yeah. Like I said, even if they were to get it, I don't think that, for a lot of reasons, for a lot of stuff you guys were saying, I don't think they'd be in a huge rush to put it into the park. But you would see meet and greets pop up. pretty quick, I would say. That's the least they would do is like Captain America and all those characters for sure.
I have a buddy, shout out to Showcase of Wishes, who is like, he is praying every day. He's like, please, Universal, hang on to the rights. Because he's like, I don't want to see Deadpool at Epcot. I don't want to see any of this stuff.
That's a valid point because I don't think I would either. But yeah, like what they would do would be interesting for sure. I thought I had another point. I don't think I have another point there. But all right, let's move on. In terms of what we were just talking about, this kind of leads into that, of course, is obviously Warner Brothers is up for sale. You had Paramount Skydance make multiple offers that have been rejected. It's rumored that David Zaslav, the CEO of Warner Brothers, wants $30 a share, which would be putting it at like $75 billion for all of it. And we're hearing this is from the Wrap here. Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav meets with Comcast chief Brian Roberts as sales talks ramp up. And there are some interesting tidbits in here. So Comcast has some bankers. I think it is Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs. They have access to their financials. So they already have bankers involved looking at this. They also had talked about Kavanaugh had some interesting comments during their earnings call, basically saying that the questions out there about their debt load and, how big they are. And he had a quote about how he doesn't think that'll be an issue because they're spinning off part of Comcast into Versant, which is very similar to what Warner Brothers is doing, also probably to spin off their debt. And he had a quote where he said, let's see, if I can find it here. I know it's in this article I used the other day. Here he goes. He said, this is from Mike Kavanaugh. He said, oh gosh, I can't find it now. Anyways, he basically said it's a more feasible than people think because they're going to do that spinoff. And I think a lot of that debt goes to the spinoff company and it reduces the size of Comcast. So you wouldn't run into as many regulatory potential issues because that is what he was also addressing was they felt like they wouldn't have as much regulation getting it approved if they were to buy Warner Brothers or parts of it due to that. So it definitely seems like Comcast is ramping themselves up to be making an offer. They haven't made an offer as of yet, publicly at least. But we've talked about a little bit, leading up to this. But like, if Comcast is able to do this, it seems like what in Warner Brothers is open to this is where Comcast or somebody would acquire the studio and streaming rights, and the network stuff would be either spun off into their other company or somebody else would buy it. I think that's probably what you're looking at, what Comcast would want, because a lot of reasons we talked about the streaming side of the HBO Max and the IPs they have. What do you guys think? You think this is looking like Comcast is going to end up with it? Because the other one at this point, I don't know about Paramount, but Netflix is involved. They have bankers looking at this also.
Well, one thing that's really interesting is that they're actually looking at a capital investor too to kind of spread load the risk. And I really like that idea where the Ellisons are just looking to get it with family cash. I mean, the Ellisons they're worth $350 billion, so they could buy that puppy cash no problem. But the thing is that, and anybody in the chat knows this, Comcast has the most to lose by not acquiring Warner Brothers because they have so much invested into the parks. And if they lose out to Paramount or Netflix, they'd be shooting themselves in the foot. And I think that really they need to highball Zaslav with that high estimated figure and figure out the rest later because if they don't get the licensing rights that they already have, they're going to have to renegotiate everything. It's going to cost them so much more.
Oh man,
if Paramount gets it or Netflix, and they might even say no. And then they're really up the creek, especially because especially with Netflix, because Netflix right now, I mean, they want to control everything. Paramount, I think, is willing to play the game a little bit, but Netflix, I don't think that they're in a position to really. I don't know. I don't think that Netflix is going to be as interested in renegotiating licensing agreements with Comcast if they got Warner Brothers, because the reason is they want to grow into the entertainment industry. And if they go into the entertainment industry and put all the Warner Brothers IPs in there, they're going to want them as exclusives.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing too is, and this is me putting my tinfoil hat on. Okay, so I want to make that very clear going into this. But the fact
I like
that
tinfoil hat theory. Go on.
you know what I'm saying? The fact that Comcast, Universal, and Warner Brothers are spinning their networks off like preemptively. You know, for me, I'm a kind of like a no coincidences are a coincidence kind of guy, and I
Right.
feel like even before all this, I think there was an interest on both sides to kind of get this deal done, and I think a lot of that spin-off stuff was in preparation for this moment. And I don't know, call me crazy, man. I really do believe that this has been kind of in the works, so to speak, for a little while now, and they were making preemptive moves going into it.
That's not as conspiracy theory as many would think. I think, I mean, you're talking about high level corporate stuff here. It wouldn't shock me at all if that was the case. And if you think about, and we've discussed this, I don't know where Warner Brothers stands on, like, are they concerned about the landing spot of being a good, I guess, a new parent for their baby here? Like, do they care, or they just want the money? Because I do think as well, Comcast has shown they will take care of IPs that are reputable. I think it's a good landing spot for the Netflix. A lot of questions what they would do, because then you're talking about like what type of content. Like, they don't have the same relationships with the movie theaters and the studios. So I wouldn't be shocked by that. And the spinoff timing is interesting because they're both spinning off and they both have debt. Warner Brothers has $30 billion in debt. Comcast has about 90. And the big question I always had about this is the size of Comcast and their debt load. But from what Kavanaugh is saying, if they're spinning that off to essentially, which I'm assuming this gets into corporate finance, which is way above my head, but you spin off your debt into another company, then you reducing their size of it. So you look better on a balance sheet to be able to do that. And then you probably can get through regulation much easier. So I do think that this is all looking as if it was maybe in the works, and that you just have to take these things public at some point, because you can't just, I mean, I would assume they're just going to at least see offers. But I think I put it this way. At first, when we talked about this, and to you, I know OG, you and Wizard, we were on a live stream one time, and you guys were really bullish on it. And I was like, I don't see it happening. I think I'll end up maybe being completely wrong on this, because it looks like Comcast may end up with it. And like you were saying, Slimer, they have a ton to lose if they don't get this.
Yes.
And if you're looking at competing in the theme parks, this gives them a ton that they can use in the parks and not have as many of those third-party licensing deals that they currently have, which does put them at risk. Look at The Simpsons right now and how that is, where they probably don't want to keep it, but even if they wanted to, it's very likely Disney's going to say, nope, we want that back. And so it gives them more independence on the theme park side, and obviously studio and streaming, and their, Peacock is not doing well. So for a lot of reasons, it makes a lot of sense. I guess it just comes down to, like, how do they make this work? And really, I suppose, how does the investors react to it?
Well, and here's another tinfoil hat conspiracy sort of theory, where the whole Mike Kavanaugh thing, we talked about that. The timing of that, it was kind of weird, And did they take that new structure of the co-CEO thing in preparation of this big merger? Because now this is going to be a very big company. So did they bring on Mike as a co-CEO preemptively, knowing, hey, if we acquire Warner Brothers, we might need a dual CEO format? I mean, I don't know. It just seems all like I feel like these companies are sort of like setting up the groundwork for this, very much so.
Well, in leading into what you're talking about of, conspiracy, they asked somebody that's he knows about these things. He said, I believe that if Brian, meaning Brian Roberts of Comcast, is willing to reduce his level of control of the resulting combination, then I think a deal could be done and get through regulatory approval. But these things are all fine-tuning things. So they're already talking about, essentially, they may be talking about some of the specifics in terms of how much, like, if they merge these, like, does Zaslav become part of this? Like, where does he fit in? So if they're already hinting at specifics like this, that means these talks have been going on. Yeah. And just the fact they haven't made an offer, it could be one of those things where they say, when we make an offer, they're gonna be like, whatever, they come to a conclusion beforehand. It's like me and OG are gonna sell a car, and I'm like, hey, I'll give you 7, and you're like, cool. As the minute I say 7, you're like, sold. And that could be how this plays out, while they kind of get more offers. And maybe, Warner Brothers is trying to get more money out of it, obviously. Like, hey, look how much Netflix is looking to pay us. they want to be with Comcast, but they're trying to get the most money they can, sort of situation. That could also be what's playing out.
Well, there's a couple other things too that are going to help them with the regulatory process. If they have an outside investor that, like, let's say, Comcast is willing to give 20% stake, that's going to help them with regulatory approval.
Mm-hmm.
And it also means they're going to have to come less out of pocket, so they get to keep that cash flow, which is going to look good for the investors. Their books are going to still look tight. The other thing too is that I think Allison played his hand a little too hard, too fast by offering them 70. I think he offered them 70 million. Plus, he offered Zaslav a co-CEO position and like a $25 million annual salary, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong in the last part, but I know he offered him co-CEO. Now, the reason that he did that, and if you guys in the chat already know, my apologies, but when they acquired Warner Brothers, Disney, or rather, when they acquired it from AT&T, they had gone from $120 billion market value to $40 billion market value. So AT&T just completely tanked the company. And Zaslav, in like the last couple of years, has been able to bring it up to $73 billion market cap value. So he's grown the value $30 billion. So if I'm Paramount or if I'm Comcast in this instance, I'm definitely wanting Zaslav in my team, because he, in a very short amount of time, he can increase the market value by cutting the fat, getting rid of the things that they don't need, and while increasing the quality too. I mean, like, I don't think anybody can argue that this studio hasn't been doing better under Zaslav. I mean, yeah, there's a couple of fan movies that people wanted to see. People wanted to see the DCEU continue. I'm one of those people. Batgirl. A lot of people got pissed off when they got rid of that. But I mean, good God. I mean, he's given us Dune 2.
I mean, they had the best summer at the box office.
Best summer at the box office. I think
they did too.
Yeah.
The only era though, the only area of Warner Brothers, I feel like, well, animation in general, I think Zaslav has been kind of a disaster, and that's a big part for me, because I think Warner Brothers has an incredible animation house. Right. So for me, animation, I think Zaslav has been horrendous, but I would agree with you guys on the other stuff. I mean, he's done, decent. So
yeah. Real quick, we got XVoot with another. He got $20. Thank you, XVoot. XVoot is having a party in the chat here. Appreciate it. He said, if Comcast gets Warner Brothers, it would be a huge win. This would bring them into the top in streaming with Max, absolutely, and Peacock merging, and also acquiring DC is huge. Lastly, not having to pay licensing on Harry Potter theme park rights is huge.
Yeah,
I completely agree. And if you think about that, I mean, I don't know how much they're paying for Harry Potter licensing rights, but at some point that might pay for itself, considering how much they also pay in profit shares. Now, some of that's going to be to J.K. Rowling. I'm sure she has her own little separate interest in that deal, regardless of the studio. But that is for sure. And then they would be full in control of the movies, TV shows, and the theme parks. And then, obviously, Harry Potter being so big in the parks for them, that gives you even more of an advantage, because you could have full creative control of everything. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, one thing that doesn't get mentioned enough is that Warner Brothers has the biggest horror and thriller library out of all the studios.
Yep.
And Universal, who also has a massive horror thriller library, is going to be taking custodial responsibility over that, which I don't think anybody can argue that there's a studio that can do it better than Universal. And that's going to give them all of the licensing rights for all of the horror films that Warner Brothers has been making for their horror, not just for Halloween Horror Nights, but for Horror Nights Unleashed as well. So for all those regional locations, that's going to be, that's going to be an in-house IP for them as well, which means better margins.
Yeah. Well, sure. and also the out here in California for Hollywood, and I've said it before, but not everyone watches every show, so it bears repeating. But like the Warner Brothers lot is literally within eyeshot of Hollywood, of Universal Hollywood.
Yes.
So theoretically, I mean, I don't know if there's like a desire for Universal to actually do this, but if they were to, take a few of the sound stages off of the Universal lot, you can move those over. You can move those facilities over to the Warner Brothers lot, and that would open up more theme park space for Universal Studios Hollywood. And I know that Universal is getting very, very bullish on Universal Hollywood because they're building a new hotel over there. And obviously, if you're going to build a new hotel, you got to justify the hotel. I mean, if you're going to tell people we have a hotel, there's enough here for a night, to stay an extra night. You also have to have the goods in the park. So, they're going to, I think that hotel signals a big things are coming really at Hollywood. And one way to do that is you offload those sound stages and you put them over there at the Warner Brothers lot and you kind of go from there. Another great thing too, and this is just like a little fun note. I love the Animaniacs. And if we get an awesome Animaniacs dark ride, I will lose my shit. I will love it.
I love the Animaniacs too. I completely agree. Well, and there have been rumors. I mean, if it's not Comcast, but it's not Netflix, which it doesn't look like it's going to be Paramount either, there's been rumblings about Saudi money. And I think if you're Warner Brothers, you care about where it goes. I feel like this all goes toward Comcast. And like you were saying, all these moves they've been making, both those companies, the fact that they're talking. Yeah. I mean, at this point, I think it's, I don't know where I'd put the percentages, but I think it's definitely jumped up a bunch in the past month for sure.
Yeah, and they were pretty quick to knock down the Paramount stuff.
Very quick. That's the thing. It was like 3 successional bids, and they're just like, no. It's like, really? Like, okay. There's a lot. But I think obviously, like, there's just so much that it would, and like you were saying, this would scare Disney. Because on the streaming side, from the studio side, and the theme park side, this would be literally like, you talk about a 5-tool player, like a baseball player. This is like a 5-tool move. You would be acquiring like Shohei Ohtani onto your team, essentially. I haven't watched baseball in a while. I know he's really good, but that's what you'd be doing here, is acquiring this into your lineup. And then I would think that Disney would be like, like, this is our biggest competitor is making moves that is going to impact us on every facet of our business. And eventually I think Universal gets into the cruise business also, which there's rumblings about that too. So
I'm telling you,
that
would be crazy.
Yeah, and I think that's why they haven't yet, is because it's too tricky to get the licensing rights to do a cruise when they don't own it. It's probably just too expensive. But the other thing too that I was just thinking about, and I really haven't seen it mentioned a lot. Peacock, in terms of quality, in terms of its market value, the amount of subscribers that it has, I think it's the weakest performer out of the big apps. If they merge HBO Max with it, their market value is probably going to jump up $2 or $3 billion.
Oh yeah,
just off that alone, and that's going to offset. I mean, I haven't looked at the numbers of how much profit their Comcast side of the business is well, I guess losing at this point. I mean, I haven't looked at the last quarterly earnings report. I can't imagine that they're still profitable when it comes to linear, but it is a melting iceberg, but that's going to offset a lot of those losses. But yeah, they could definitely see some massive profitability, because I mean, how many subscribers does HBO Max have? Isn't it like 90 or 80 million?
I don't know the exact amount, but it's obviously a decent. I don't know if they actually release those or not. I don't think any of them release them nowadays, but it's a decent amount out there for sure.
Yeah. I can only imagine it probably puts it close to or more than Disney, which has like 130 million subs.
I don't know those numbers actually. So I mean, regardless, I mean, you talk about HBO Max quality on top of it too. That obviously gets into a whole thing as well. So
and really, no matter where it puts it on the rankings, it would elevate Peacock dramatically.
Gosh, yeah.
So even if it would massive competition. Now, real quick, I do want to address this real quick. Tones, our good buddy Tones, Poppy, love you, Tones, says OG doesn't know who that is. No, actually, Tones, I look, full disclosure, I don't follow sports at all. I really don't, but I do know who Ohtani is. I do know who he is. And you are always welcome to come on, Tones Poppy. Would love to have you. Tones, actually, he's really really great when it comes to the studio stuff, especially Warner Brothers. He's a big Game of Thrones guy, so he'd be a great a great guest on a future theme parking for sure.
We might do that when we get we were going to have Jay Shear come on because he's got his new short film Disclosure, but Jay is going to Florida when it's freezing. So maybe we get him and Jay on and talk about some of this stuff because that'd be good. Because I'm sure by the time Jay gets back from Florida, that this all may be wrapped up and who knows where this will be. But real quickly, would you care to OG to catch up on the chat? And I'm going to go tell my kids good night and I will be right back.
Do your thing. Do your thing.
All right.
I'll handle it. All right, so let's go ahead and now Tones. Speaking of Tones, says HBO Max has approximately 125.7 million subs worldwide. We got some super chats in here too. I don't believe we got to some of the. Let's see. Oh, this one. OG, are you going to ride the Fast and Furious coaster at Universal Studios Hollywood? This is funny. I'm not a big coaster guy, not a sports guy or a coaster guy. It's kind of funny, but I was talking to Theme Park Wizard about this the other day. Xvoot. I think I might. I think because Wizard doesn't really want to do it either, but maybe just one go and just knock it out. I don't know. What do you think, Slimer? You think I should just one time just knock it out? Just go for it.
Absolutely, man. Just go for it.
Yeah, I mean, kind of fun. So we'll see.
We'll make sure he gets on.
Yeah, no, 100%. But I mean, overall, Slimer, this is exciting news, right? I mean, I think if Comcast were able to make this deal and to get this studio under that Comcast Universal umbrella, it changes the game on literally every single front for this company. And then what it also does is it also minimizes how much they need their cable broadband stuff, which is, like you were saying, a melting ice cube. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, absolutely. If this merger happened with Comcast and Warner Brothers, I would be very excited. I mean, this is something that I could probably watch tentatively for years and years and years because it's going to be very interesting what they do, and you're going to see Universal Studios go to a whole other level. It's going to be fantastic, and it's just going to make everything just more vertically integrated. The approvals are going to be faster. You're going to see the IPs that you want in the park sooner. You're going to see better rides. It's just going to happen all so much faster, and that's good for competition. That means that Disney's going to have to do even better to compete with Universal Studios. Which, hey, I'm all for it, man. I'm all for competition.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's get it. Bad Thoughts here says my biggest concern is if they buy them, what happens to the stuff that was already greenlit? Will they continue with those movies and shows? What happens with Game of Thrones? I mean, this is a great question. I mean, honestly, anytime you have any kind of acquisition or merger, all that stuff, Tones, is very much up in the air. We've seen what happened with Six Flags and Cedar Fair when they merged. Now they're closing all these parks, and you just never know what's going to be on the chopping block. It would definitely add a level of uncertainty to that equation, right? And as a big, Game of Thrones fan, I can definitely see why you would be concerned. Also, another factor is you would also have to factor in how far along some of these projects are. The ones that are further along probably has less of a chance getting cut. You also have to factor in how long these acquisitions kind of take in the first place. I mean, even if they were to approve the deal, even if they were to say, okay, we're going to do it, it still would probably take what would you say, Slimer? Like almost a year to finalize it and things like that. So,
yeah, because they would have to line item every agreement. Every agreement would have to be line item and renegotiated. And from a risk perspective, you're probably going to want to keep a lot of things separate. I would probably keep the co-chairs, Pam and DeLuca, over at Warner Brothers. I'd keep them where they are. They've done a tremendous job with the studios. I think that they have really high quality movies coming out right now. They're hiring some of the best actors, best directors, and I'd keep it separate from what's going on in Universal Studios because even though they're both high quality, they're doing very different things, and I would want to try to keep those two brands separate, kind of like 20th Century Fox and Disney and Disney Studios, right? They're doing very different things, and you don't want that one to bleed over into the other.
Yeah, no, well said. So we'll see how it all shakes out. Says here, George De Jesus, I believe. Disney thinks their Monsters Inc. and Villains Land can compete with Universal. They really think they can. I mean, I don't know about Monsters Inc., but I think Villains could, to be honest with you.
I mean, look, man, Magic Kingdom is still the most attended park in the world. It's almost it's just built into the DNA of park goers and family members. Magic Kingdom is always going to be the #1 destination for people that want to go take their family to the theme park. And Villains is only going to enhance that. It's only going to want to make people go more. It's going to be executed at a very high level. I think that they understand what the Disney understands what is at stake if they don't execute this correctly, because the Disney fan base is merciless if they don't get things right. Like we've seen what's happening with Zootopia to with it Better Together. They're getting hammered, and my contention is that ride is built for kids under the age of 9 years old.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's not Pirates of the Caribbean, it's not Pandora, but yeah, Villains Land is going to, if anything, it's going to increase attendance, and I think it's going to increase the desirability for people to stay at the Disney property. Universal Studios, don't get me wrong, they're pulling their own weight, but attendance hasn't been really good because of Epic Universe, and Epic Universe still has a couple more years to go before they can go toe to toe with Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, what are your thoughts, Slimer, on, because obviously Villains Land, it's very much, and then we'll get back to the Warner Brothers stuff, but obviously Villains Land is very much a Castle Park kind of franchise. Mm-hmm. But I've made the argument where, like, you might be able to do a better Villains Land if it wasn't in a Castle Park, because you can add a little bit more of an edge to it. What do you think? I mean, pros and cons here in terms of that. Where do you stand with that?
No, I think that they're going to go. I think they're going to make it edgy. I think they're going to make it edgy because Magic Kingdom has had a long track record of being too much for the kiddos. I've heard this on an individual level from my friends, my family, my wife. If you read reviews, there's a lot of people that say, well, I liked Epcot, I liked Hollywood Studios, but Magic Kingdom, I really didn't enjoy it as much because there's too many kiddie rides. And I think that Villains Land, even though, they have the potential to make it a little bit edgier, I think that if Bruce can thread the needle and make it simultaneously edgy, Disney, and family, I think they win. But they have to thread the needle. I think it's gonna take a balance that we probably haven't seen in a park in a while. Probably since the Haunted Mansion.
Yeah. No. Well said. What
do you think?
Well, yeah. Well, and here's the thing too. I really want to address this comment too, because what do you expect Cruella slaughtering puppies? No one. I'm not saying. Right. No, I'm not saying that. But like, to get a little edgier might not be so bad, right? So yeah, I don't know, right? We'll see. I'll be right back, fellas. I'll be right back.
Yeah. Were you guys still reading chat, or where we at?
Yeah, so we're still reading the chat. We're actually just talking about Villains Land here, but let's see. Oh man, there's a lot of chats.
You guys are hopping it up tonight. I appreciate it.
Okay, so Disney thinks Monsters Inc. and Villains Land can compete with Universal. They really think they can. That's the last one we left off at. If you wanna comment on that one, Jared, and that's pretty much where we stopped.
I mean, that's one of those things where it's going to come down to the execution of those lands. Yeah. Like I think Disney, pretty across the board, Zootopia, that new show, is getting panned even by very pro Disney people. So I think there are questions, like, again, our son's super into cars. I think Monsters Inc., like, some of these things have lasting power. It's just the execution. Like, if they pull off fantastic lands and do these things at a very, very high quality, I think they will be successful. Now, I do, like I've said before, Universal having Nintendo is, even if they didn't have Epic Universe, having Nintendo alone would be a problem for Disney, because how big Nintendo is. Essentially, it's a lifestyle brand, and Disney's not, I mean, they're going to do stuff with Epic Games and Fortnite, and there's question marks around how they would implement that into the parks. I don't think they're going to have an answer for Nintendo. And so it's like, how do these things age in 10 to 20 years? I think Nintendo will do very, very well. And obviously, Harry Potter, we'll see how that ages, but it's just going to come down to how those are executed. I think if they're great, it'll work out for them. If they are subpar, or they seem incomplete, or they have issues, I mean, obviously they're not going to go out of business, but it's going to definitely just be one of those things where it's going to continue that Universal's just going to continue to eat into market share. I think is inevitable at that point. Personally speaking. Let's see. I have no idea where you guys are in the chat here. I'm just going to start at the bottom. If I missed anything, I apologize. Our son lost a tooth, so it was a big deal. He was showing us all.
Congratulations.
It was like his first tooth he lost because he lost it late, and apparently he swallowed it. Because all of a sudden my wife was like, "His tooth is gone," and we're like, "Oh, where's it at?" And she's like, "I guess he swallowed it." So
He'll find it tomorrow.
yeah, we'll find it eventually. I'm not going to go digging for it probably, but you know.
Right.
Let's see. Okay, how do you say this? You say it, Slimer. See if I can hear you say it, and I can say it.
Rohirrim, right? Rohirrim. Let's go with that. Yeah.
I'm from Missouri, so words are hard for me sometimes. Rohirrim of Gondor says, my main problem with the Zootopia show is that we are watching a screen in universe. Its predecessor tried to convince you that the screen was a stage. Yeah, I think, and I've heard a lot of people just say it was just like slop. Like, what is it? Like, again, I haven't seen the show in person, but just, have you seen it in person yet?
No, I have not. We were supposed to go this last weekend. We weren't able to, so we're gonna have to do a redo.
Yeah, we were gonna try and go, and then we had some stuff as well. I think my wife is going with our daughter Thursday or Friday, so she may see it before me. So if she does, we will talk about it on the podcast over at CTM Podcast. But yeah, I mean, from what I've seen of it, it doesn't look too inspiring. Just from, again, I'm an adult looking at this. I'm not a fan of Zootopia, but you know, and I think some people are looking at that too and thinking, you've got these things you're building. This is a smaller thing. Let's see how it is. And then this is the quality you get. It doesn't inspire a lot of confidence. The Rogue Attraction says, it is horrible. I saw it the other day. How bad? Like, is it, I mean, does what we've seen online, is it any different than that? Or is it basically the same show? Because sometimes I will give things credit. In person is different.
Yeah, it seems incoherent to me.
That's kind of what I got too. I mean, It seems very heavy on like 3D effects.
Yeah,
basically,
it's like soda pop. It's like a video version of just Crush Candy, soda pop, Twit, and TikTok.
Right. I mean, I will say very TikTok. That much I will. Yeah, that kind of is what came across to me as well. But okay, OG is back. All right, you guys. I didn't know where you guys. I just went to the bottom of the chat. I didn't know where you guys were at. But I didn't know if you guys want to pick up or if we can get into if you guys want to talk about Mr. Bob Iger's comments that he made.
Let's do it. Let's do it. This is crazy. This is crazy.
Before we do, Kiki and Luca wants to know, did you go take a dump?
I did not. Me? No, sorry, I did not. I don't know if OG did.
I plead the fifth.
That was quick.
I plead the fifth.
We were talking about Zootopia Better Together, and he started to have bowel movements.
He's like, I gotta go really badly. I gotta get out of here. Before we do that, XVoot has a 5. Thank you, XVoot. It says there is a rumor that Comcast bought a island in the Caribbean 5 years ago. How about a cruise to Isla Nublar? I think it said that right. And then building a real Jurassic Park.
Yeah, I'm about it. I'll be the first to be there, man.
Dude, I've said before, I'm actually kind of surprised they haven't done more with Jurassic World, given that concept is like dinosaurs in a theme park. And there's a lot of potential there you could do. Now, I will say when it comes to the cruise side of things, they have done some stuff. I think it's like Universal Cruise or something along those lines. There's a URL that they have owned, and I have a background in web design. The things they were doing to the back end of that are things that you only do if you're developing the website. So I definitely think, and there's been some rumors about some ports having these shadow corporation talking to them about something. I think there is probably something in the works. But I wouldn't be, I think within, I mean, easily a decade, they'll do cruises. I guess the question would be the next 5. Are they going to do that along? I mean, they're already spending a lot of money on the theme parks. I don't know if they want to throw, and especially if they buy Warner Brothers. If they buy Warner Brothers, they may not until way down the line. But I think at some point they will do a cruise. I guess it would just be, when.
That begs the question, though, right? Like, if they did start a cruise line and they have an island which looks like an overgrown jungle, and they call it Isla Nublar, and they build Jurassic Park attractions there. I mean,
Right.
holy shit.
Right. I mean, that would be wild if they did that.
Yeah.
Nope.
Oh, we can't hear you, OG.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you guys think that they would do you guys think they would start their own cruise line, or do you think they would partner up with an existing cruise line though?
I think they would partner.
Yeah.
You think so?
I
Maybe
think they
buy some
probably
Carnival
would.
cruise ships on a budget.
Yeah. Or maybe Royal Pacific
Or Royal. Yeah.
or Royal Caribbean. Sorry.
It'd be smart too.
Yeah, I could see them do that. And then, well, this is also Rohirimo Gondor. I'm going to get that name wrong forever. I apologize. Universal Cruises would be amazing. Jurassic Park, Jaws. I don't know how well you want Jaws at sea, though. That might be a harsh reminder of all that's down there. Creature from the Black Lagoon, even Waterworld. Warner Brothers would give them Aquaman as well. That's a good point.
Wow.
Yeah, Aquaman.
I think
Listen,
make an
I'm down
Aquaman
for
themed ship.
Batman at sea. I'm in. You get a bat cave or something like that. There's so many things you can do.
Halloween Horror Nights on a cruise ship.
That would be like a haunted cruise.
Dude, we have the Queen Mary out here, and they do a whole like HHN style thing through the Queen Mary. You could do that on the freaking water on a Universal cruise. How sick would that be?
Yeah,
Dude.
charge $10,000 a person. Have a coupon day.
Yeah,
Coupon day.
a coupon.
Coupon. Get a grouping.
Do you guys ever listen to Ron? I think his name is Ron White, the comedian.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I love Ron White. Yeah,
He's great.
Yeah.
yeah. He looks way different now than he used to. I know that much. Let's see. What's up, Vincent? Vincent says, Poseidon Adventure on Sea. Ooh, like Poseidon's Fury at Sea. There's a lot of things you could do. I mean, not to mention Harry Potter. You could do Harry Potter at sea. I mean, I think How to Train Your Dragon. Like, there's and that's the thing about they get Warner Brothers. They just have so many more IPs they can utilize for so many different things. I mean, the more we talk about it, the more I'm almost convinced that Comcast is going to get it out of the sheer fact that a chance like this doesn't happen often. And even if you're not in the best position as a company, it's like maybe they're making moves to make it happen, like spin-off companies and all the moves you'd have to do. It seems like that they are doing it. Yeah, for sure.
And they're doing it preemptively in a lot of ways, along with Warner Brothers. It just seems so coordinated.
Right. The 201 countdown, the 2010 countdown. Starting a cruise line requires significant capital expenditure, something that a company like Comcast is probably not willing to spend given the current economic environment.
Sure.
I mean, valid points, although I also thought they wouldn't buy Warner Brothers. So, I mean, I don't know. I think when you're talking about this stuff, like I don't know where it would be on the priority list. I just know that they do have a URL. They have messed with it on the back end. So whether that's just making a splash page for it or something like that, but who knows on that. I'm not going to act like I know on that end for sure. And then we have XVoot with a 2. Thank you, XVoot. Says LMAO coupon day. Nice JP reference. Slime Square.
Perfect. He got it.
Oh, that's right. I missed that. That's right. I totally missed that one. All right. Let's talk about Bob Iger making some comments. Now, I will start off. There wasn't just Bob Iger that had some comments. So the whole thing about this is Bob Iger went on a show. Apparently, this is a show that he likes, and I'd never heard of it, to be quite honest. I think it was called The Rest is History. And so he went on this show, and they came out to Anaheim and go through things. And they had a couple of quotes. So these are the hosts of this show, and what they said here is probably pretty blasphemous, I would say, for Disney fans. But we'll hear this, and we'll listen to what Bob Iger also said.
Julie Andrews, Mary Poppins, and the Sherman Brothers, who wrote the music for Mary Poppins.
Enough of this flipping flim-flammery. Let's go and look at the proper handprints, which are on this side of this lovely plaza.
Does it involve Star Wars?
Yes.
Oh.
That comment right there, you flippantly just say these Disney legends and like, let's go check out the real stuff here, which is Star Wars, which Disney bought like a decade ago.
Right.
Typical Star Wars fan.
Well, yes. And you're just like, the Sherman Brothers, like just whatever. Like you wouldn't have Star Wars owned by Disney if it wasn't for the Sherman Brothers.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
So it's like I'm sure they're not super into Disney, but it's like that's not a great look when you say that, especially when Bob Iger is your big guest you have on the show. But that wasn't where the controversy ended either. And there is another interesting little comment by Bob Iger here. So that one already made people angry. And then they went on Pirates of the Caribbean and hold on.
There's something about it that is
Pause button is not working on this. Let me reload this. Okay. So this is from Theme Park Obsession. So was the other post. It says, in a new episode of The Rest is History, Bob Iger says this, and we'll listen to it, about Pirates of the Caribbean.
there's something about it that is it's rooted in tradition, quaint in a way.
Exactly.
It's not brilliant storytelling, but it's brilliant execution.
Right.
It's not brilliant storytelling, but it's brilliant execution. Do you agree? I guess we'll start there. Do you guys agree with that?
No, I don't. I mean, I think that Bob Iger is confusing storytelling with. I think Iger thinks the story needs to be complicated or complex for it to be a good story. I think a lot of the Mark Davis gags and stuff like that along the way, that's part of the story, and it's brilliant. So no, you don't need a complicated, crazy storyline, and you don't want one on an attraction. You know what I'm saying? So I think the story is actually brilliant for what it has to do with the attraction. I think it's perfect. It's a simple storyline, but that's what you need. And I don't know, man. I think Iger sometimes needs to keep his mouth shut with some of the stuff. Didn't he say Everest was a nondescript mountain or something a few years ago?
Yeah, he's had some comments where if you're one of the people, which I would put in that camp where I say there's been questionable decisions made in the theme parks, and I've had many times where I don't know how much of that ire is on Josh DeMauro and how much of that is obviously Iger is a very hands-on CEO. But comments like this make you think like you don't understand storytelling, because like you were saying, it doesn't have to be complicated, but the execution, like you're talking about things that Imagineers built that there will never be that talent, in my opinion, at any company again. You had Walt Disney running the show. These Imagineers that were underneath him, they were able to do things that nobody's been able to do since. So I'm kind of in the camp of, if it's me, you just shut your mouth and say, isn't it great? You don't have to give any context to any of this.
Exactly. And you're going to come for this ride. Like, of all the attractions, this is the one that you're going to criticize the story. Like, one of the most epic, most legendary attractions ever built for any theme park. And this is the thing he's going to, oh, well, I don't know. It wasn't that great. Oh, come on, Bob.
Yeah.
It's too much.
The old newspaper ads for Pirates of the Caribbean, when it opened, said, it even said at the very bottom of the ad, a robust story. So,
right.
You know, if you're the head ambassador of Disney, you certainly want to make sure you don't have any Freudian slips like this. I mean, is it the best storied ride? No. But I mean, he did get the execution part right. Like it is well executed. But yeah, this is one of those where, like, if you say the wrong thing, you know, you eat a shit sandwich. And it's just been better, just, you know, if you got nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. I mean, as head ambassador of the Disney company, I honestly, I completely missed this part when I watched this, because I did watch this. And Kiki and Luca, to your question, why did Bob do this? Bob's actually a really fan. He's a big fan of the show on YouTube. He watches them. And so that's why he's entertaining these guys and giving them a tour and all that. Otherwise, he wouldn't have done it. It's a very small YouTube channel.
Yeah. Kiki and Luca did say Iger started as a weatherman. I like to point that out a lot, by the way. He did start as a weatherman and worked his way up. I don't think Bob Iger is, I'm not convinced. I'm like with Vinton. He says, I'm not a Bob fan. Sorry, just proves my case. I've never been a real Bob Iger fan. I think he's made some good acquisitions. What's happened with those acquisitions? I think, obviously, look at Star Wars. Marvel has not been doing that hot. There's been very questionable decisions. I think that he was handed a very good position after Eisner. And Eisner wasn't perfect, but when it comes to the parks, it's hard to argue that he was handed pretty well. You know, so I guess I should speak of Disney World at least. All the investments that Eisner made that Iger under his tenure has definitely benefited from, of a lot of those things that he was able to do. I get the sentiment by a lot of people. I think a lot of people were actually excited about Iger coming back. And I remember saying at the time, like, he's not going to change much. He was in charge when Chapek was there. He was the chairman of the board. Chapek reported to him and the board. I think, I mean, we've talked about before, I do think it's time for Bob to go. I think he just needs to, I mean, he seems to be in legacy mode anyways, but like you're saying stuff like this, as polished as he is a lot of times, I'm just like, just say, isn't it great? Wasn't Walt great? Like, that's all you got to say. You don't say any. Your commentary is not going to add anything to this. It's only going to detract from it.
Let me bring up a comment from Memory Deed. I think this is a fair question. I think you guys are overthinking it. He probably just meant that it's simple storytelling. I mean, that's a fair point. Is that what you think he meant, Jared and Slimer? That maybe he just meant it was more of a simple story, but it came out wrong?
The problem is, if you're going to say that, you don't say it isn't brilliant storytelling. You can just say, isn't it it's simple storytelling. That's not an insult to say simple storytelling.
Right.
It's just the part where you're putting the caveat, like, this isn't great, but it's simple. It's like, it comes across whether or not he meant that or not, which very well he could have meant it that way.
Yeah.
But you're also talking about, you have to also know when you're the CEO of Disney, which we talked about many times, you have a fan base that is, I mean, people love this stuff. And when you're in charge of these things and you have comments like this would be like saying, somebody takes over Marvel and they're like, Stan Lee's stuff, it was okay, but it was really good art. And you're just like, what? Like, you shouldn't be speaking about anything that Stan Lee did. Things like that is kind of how this comes across, and it could have been meant a different way, but it's how, you're the CEO of this, and this kind of comes across to fans of like, you're not even a fan of this stuff like we are. And as a fan base, they would think that. And I think that's how it comes across.
Yeah, it's not a good look, and it's an unnecessary thing, And you're right,
very unnecessary,
totally unnecessary. And like you said, and you're absolutely right, Jared. When you say it's not brilliant storytelling, you're giving the impression it's not good,
Right.
and that's the issue. Like what you're saying, Remy, would be completely fine, because I said the same thing. It is a simple story. And there's nothing wrong with that. You need a simple story for an attraction because you're in a boat going past these scenes. You don't want something complex. If you would have said that, I think it would have been fine. I think the brilliant and all that stuff is where I think that's where he got himself into some hot water.
Yeah, I would agree. And X-Voot for 2 says Brian Roberts versus Bob Iger, who will win? If those, to be honest, if they're in a fight, Iger's actually in pretty good shape for a guy his age. I don't think Roberts doesn't strike me as a fighter.
Yeah, I think Iger would probably send him to the hospital.
But if you're talking CEOs, I don't know about that. They got that, like, Disney and Comcast are set up so differently in many ways. And when it comes to the parks, I've never heard Roberts being that involved in what goes on with the Universal parks. Obviously Mark Woodbury is in charge of the Universal resorts. So I don't know. I feel like their companies are so different. It's hard to really say which CEO is better. And also now you have Mike Cavanaugh that's a co-CEO of Comcast. So I don't know. But in a physical fight, I think Bob Iger probably would take that.
Now, Brian has a good point here. And full disclosure, Brian, I didn't watch this whole thing. I've seen this clip and stuff because it's the controversy. Jared and Slimer, did you guys watch the whole thing, number one, and number two, did he praise Walt and what have you in this? I mean, like what was like the context here with some of the stuff? Because I think it's fair to Brian. I think it's fair what Brian is saying here. We should bring that up as well.
I didn't watch the whole thing. Let's see his comment here about what he said about Walt. I would assume he said good things about Walt, considering if he didn't, that would be even bigger news than this. Let me see if I can find what he said there. I remember seeing it in passing, and let me open this up in a new tab and see if I can. Theme Park Obsession's pretty good about posting some of this stuff.
Yeah, I just think it's fair to kind of put it out there because I didn't see the whole thing. So if there was some positive stuff in there, I think it's good to bring it up.
I'm assuming that he was very positive about Walt. Again, if he said some negative things about Walt, that would have been the number one thing you would have heard all over the place. Theme Park Obsession posts a lot. Okay, let me see. I'm to the part here. He didn't post that. Let me see. I'll see if I can find it. Or if anybody has a link to it, we can take a look at it.
Yeah. So I watched both videos. He actually did 2 videos with them. One was through Disneyland and the studio, and then one was a sit-down interview. Okay. And it was all positive. It was actually very candid. It was actually a very candid interview with Bob Iger. There were moments where I felt like he was more candid than others, especially when he was giving the studio tour and the tour around Disneyland. I think that's where he wanted I think that's where he was doing a better job of connecting with the YouTube channel that he enjoyed watching. And so for Bob, it was kind of like meeting, these people that he has a regarded interest in learning from. And so it was like a shared experience for him. Whereas when he did the sit down interview, he took more of like that, the politician, like he was just a little bit more polished. But yeah, it was overall a very positive experience. I quite enjoyed it. I mean, like I said, I didn't notice this comment when I was watching it, so I'm a little shocked, but I guess not really, that the Disney community is lambasting Bob for it. For me, it seems like a little oversight of speech, but again, words matter, and he could have just simplified and said, simple storytelling, but brilliant execution, and he could have dodged it. When you're the lead ambassador for the Disney company, you have to be mindful at all times. Which again, it's kind of scary for him. It's scary for anybody in that position because you're always under a spotlight and everything you say is under a microscope. But I mean, when you're getting paid $25 million a year, who cares? Like, you got to do your job.
Yeah, I would say you're paid to be very careful about what you say.
Right, exactly.
This isn't from that interview, but this is from Boardwalk Times. It's like last year. Bob Iger did say, approach every day at Disney with a deep sense of respect for everything Walt and Roy created, and it's incredibly meaningful to have the support of their families. We are committed to protecting their legacy as we chart Disney's path ahead. I mean, I'm assuming what he said in that show is very similar to that. Again, Bob Iger is not going to come out and, regardless of what he may think deep down, they're not going to come out and say anything that's like negative about Walt. And again, that comment, like, yeah, is it nitpicky? Probably. But that's also what you do when you're like a sports fan is going to hear the starting pitcher say something and they're like, what did he say? Like, this is something that fan bases do. And the thing is, Iger knows this stuff, though. That's the thing that kind of gets you where, like you were saying, you're paid all this money. Like, at the very least, like, usually Iger is very conscious of his words, I guess. He's almost like a politician in that way.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, I'm not going to like rake him over the coals. It's not the worst thing that's ever been said. It's just one of those things that leads into like, I don't think Iger understands a lot of the things that make Disney parks what they have been, or maybe the Disney studios. And it kind of just further is like, I don't think Bob Iger really gets storytelling on a level that has been with Disney in the past. But Mr. Bryan says the problem is people judging someone's character by a 5-second clip in an hour-long video and making it about that. Well, I mean, we're not going to watch an hour-long clip, but he did say it. So, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say, like, he should be hung out to dry. I just think that, it's a poor choice of words that probably reflect how he feels about it, which, like I said, it's not good. It doesn't change anybody's experience for Pirates. No. It's just one of those things where you're like, I wasn't shocked to hear him say that, but it's like a slip of the tongue where you're just like, like that. You could have said it better.
The one thing that he said that I really liked in that experience with these guys, or his time with them, was he actually said that there's a lot of people that reluctantly don't want to let go of the past. And he says that he kind of said it this way. I'm not saying it verbatim, but essentially something along the lines of, there's too many people that are stuck in the past. They want things to stay the same. And if Walt were still alive, he would be embracing all the new technologies and experimenting with them to explore different attraction rides and ideas. And that really resonated with me because I've never heard Bob Iger say that. And that's a very candid thing to say, because what he essentially is doing is he is directly calling out the people that are like, no, Disneyland is a museum. It should always stay a museum. Same thing with Magic Kingdom, Epcot, and all these things. And he called them out. And I really did like that, because I really wasn't expecting Bob to do that. And another thing that he actually said was, and I think this is also very true of the Disney community, he said that when he got to the company, that there was too much reverence for Walt. And don't get me wrong,
that's
I love
what
Walt.
he said. That's okay. That is another thing I remember hearing, the word reverence. Yeah.
But that's actually
I love him. I love
that's
Uncle
actually
Walt.
Yeah,
I
me
love Uncle
too.
Walt, but there was too much reverence, because there was this whole what would Walt do?
Right.
And every decision that they tried to make was based like trying to get into Walt's head and what would he do? Even when Michael Eisner was there, I mean, that was one of the problems that him and Frank were battling.
Well, you're right, Slimer. I mean, that was when the Walt era was sort of fading. and the new era was emerging, a lot in that 1970s era, the creativity really did, kind of fall, right? I mean, and the company itself wasn't even doing that great. And it was because of this obsession with like trying to figure out what Walt would have done. And I think I think as they went on with like the Renaissance era and stuff, they got out of the what would Walt do mindset and decided, you know what, we're going to make great content again. And we're going to do it in the spirit of what Walt set the foundation for. And I think that was the right mindset instead of trying to get in the guy's head that passed away years ago. You know what I'm saying? So I think you can get too in the weeds with what Walt would have done. We also have to understand the man has died he died a long time ago now. And I think that trying to figure out what he would have done now is nearly impossible, Yeah. But I do know one thing, and Slimer, you mentioned it, and I think this is a great point that he made. Walt was about making sure that Disneyland and these parks were ever changing, ever growing. And we don't have to love every change, but at the end of the day, the change was built into the DNA of these things. You know what I'm saying?
I agree. And like you were saying, I agree. Walt would be, in my opinion, again, I'm trying to get in the head of Walt here. You're never like Walt was, guys like him are very rare people. So to even try and say like, it's like me trying to say like, I'm going to get in the head of, Michael Jordan playing a basketball game. Like, that's insane. Like, who knows? Like he's the best to ever do it. Right. So the minute you try, I think that's what Walt would do. You can do things that you think are in the spirit of what you understand, but it's like, do I think that Walt would use technology and all these things to his advantage? Absolutely. Do I think he would do it the way that Eisner, Iger, and Disney does it now? No, because Walt was so different the way he thought. It would look different. So I think you have to be careful when he's saying that, because it's almost like he's giving an endorsement of like, we're doing exactly what Walt would have done. And that's A, we don't know that, but B, I would assume that is not going to be the case. Like Walt would have made different decisions, and he's, stated that the parks are not museums, but it doesn't mean that every single decision that DeMauro and Iger have made in the parks that Walt would have been like, I'm on board. And I think it's just difficult to you're trying to put yourself in a mindset that you can't get to because of a lot of reasons, but and the other one being like Walts don't walk around that often. And so it's like like somebody admit, I can't remember who had said, is like trying to do things how Walt would have done them would have, almost ruined the company. Walt almost went bankrupt, or he may have even gone bankrupt. Like he really had no business even being successful. Like he, probably led Roy to an early grave with all the stress he put him under about like getting him money to do the things he wanted to do. So, it like you're saying, it's a different time period. It's really one of those questions where it's like, there's no real answer to it. You can try and be in the spirit of it, but you're never going to I understand where you'd be coming from running a company that's always, you look at Walt and you're always like, you're always fighting that, but it's, I'm sure it's not an easy position to be in, I will say, to give Iger credit. But you just got to be really careful how you say certain things around certain subjects, and Walt would be one of them, and how you kind of phrase things, I would say.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. It's interesting. It's a very unique company founded by a very unique man. So
absolutely.
It's always going to be a minefield navigating.
It is. And that is saying it's a minefield because the fan base is going to have opinions. And anytime you invoke that name, you're going to get 50 different people saying 50 different things about what Walt would have done.
Yeah.
There's really no winning when you bring that up. So I understand trying to steer away from it in many ways, but
and then the other thing too is like, if we get too literal sometimes with the what would Walt want kind of thing, which I think a lot of fans kind of dive into that too. Well, I mean, Walt technically wanted smoking in his park. Should we bring that back? I mean, there also comes a point where we have to also acknowledge.
I want pipes. I want to walk around with a pipe. I want to see. Listen, I love when you see an old man smoking a pipe. Like there's just something like distinguished about that. Like that guy.
Yeah, I agree. And I want to wear a Guayabera, and I want to have my cigar box in the front pocket.
I would smoke cigars and pipes in the parks constantly. I want to walk up to old men and be like, share your wisdom with me. You have knowledge. I will gladly accept it. And the man with the pipe would be like, gladly, let's walk around this park and I will give you wisdom. And I'm all ears. I'm all for it the entire time. So I personally, You can ban cigarettes. Now, Walt wouldn't have liked that, but I think pipes and cigars are they're classier, I would say.
Yeah. Actually, having a nice cigar at 1901 or Carthay Circle just kind of fits theme wise.
I had a cigar last night because it's fire pit weather because it's cold here, and I had a cigar by a fire last night and contemplated if I should have been a medieval warrior.
The answer is unequivocally yes.
Yeah, I came to it really quickly. I was like, I probably should have, and then I did see there was some animal that came up. I don't know what it was, but it did spook me out because it was like pitch dark. And I heard rustling. I'm like, what? And I saw this thing move, and I was like, I think it's time to go inside. It was like 11:30 at night, and I was like, that's probably a dog or a cat, or it could be a mountain lion. Who knows? Or a panther. I don't know what's around Florida, but it could be something that could attack me, and I can't see it. So
the worst animal ever created were possums. They are absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, possums are not the best, I would say.
They are vile creatures.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. X-Voot with a 50. Thank you, X-Voot.
Thank you.
He says, thank you, guys. Always have fun interacting with you on these streams. Prediction. Okay, here we go. Comcast buys WB, starts a cruise line, builds another park, City Walk 2, and 4 more hotels in Orlando, opens Lord of the Rings at Epic and UK Park, and Villains Land still isn't open.
I mean, honestly,
you're not that far off. I don't know about Lord of the Rings, but everything else you're saying right there, I'm like, they do have plans for City Walk 2.0. I do know that. And they're currently grading land around Epic that the rumor there is that's probably a hotel. So, I mean, I've been saying for a long time, I don't think Villains Land happens until well into the 2030s is my prediction. We'll see, but you may not be far off. I will bookmark that, and then we will talk about that in a decade and see if anything came to fruition. But yeah, no, that was a good conversation. Anything else you guys want to add about any of that before we can get some news roundup here, talk about a couple of things?
No, I think I got everything out. I mean, I mean that kind of stuff I love. I mean, we could dedicate a whole theme park into that topic. I mean, that's because there's a lot to chew on with the Walt stuff and what he would want or wouldn't want, and the fandom reaction and all that stuff. So it's fascinating. Yeah, it's great stuff. I love it.
Yeah, I agree.
I think the one thing that I do want to add is that Walt was inspiring, but inspiring in a lot of different ways, and I think people individualize what that inspiration was like for them, and that goes for every Imagineer, that goes for Bob Iger, that goes for all the fans. We don't know how he thought. I don't think anybody can get into his head and say, well, Bob would have done, or Walt would have done this. Maybe Roy, maybe his wife, maybe some of his kids, and like that's about it. Everybody else is just speculating. But I think the one thing that we could objectively say is that he was inspirational, and we can maybe touch what he would have done, but we can never really fully grasp it. Yeah. And that's okay. I mean, that's what makes Walt Disney, and that's why we revere him as a businessman, a thinker, a creative, and as the father of a company that brings people together and makes some of the best entertainment in the world. So
well said, Slimer. I mean, honestly, if it wasn't for that man, the three of us, we probably never would have met. Our friendships are really built upon our shared love for these parks, which he created. Everyone in the chat, all our friends in the chat, same thing. People have gotten married because of their love for Disney parks and what have you. So this man has impacted millions of people in so many ways. It's crazy to me. And he was born in 1901.
That is crazy.
124 years ago, and he's still impacting everybody. He's a GOAT, man. He's a GOAT.
Yeah. I will call out here Bad Thought Studio. Steph Curry is the GOAT. Cough, cough. That is slanderous. Those are slanderous words. I listen. Steph Curry is a great shooter, but Michael Jordan would wreck him mentally. Michael Jordan would wreck him. Like Michael Jordan would talk so much trash that I think Steph Curry would be crying by the end of the game. There's a story. I loved Michael Jordan as a kid. When he retired, there was a rookie, the Chicago Bulls, the first time he retired before he came back on the Bulls for the second run. There was a rookie they drafted that made some slight comment that like he could beat Michael Jordan in one-on-one. Jordan shows up, retired, to practice, they stopped practice, and Jordan says, "I want him," and just I think he rocked him like 15-1, and basically Jordan just went off and said something, left the court. Like, he is that petty that some rookie that just made a offhanded comment that he's just going to make part of his day. Like, I'm going to go in here and make this guy's life living hell. Like, Jordan was just another level of, like, he probably was a terrible person, but as a competitor, like, just a maniac.
Yeah.
I just don't think Steph Curry has that personally.
He plays the finals with the flu. That's how petty he is.
Well, I think he actually had food I think they poisoned him. Actually,
Probably.
there's a conspiracy that it was in Utah and he ordered a pizza and that somebody did something. They were Jazz fans and they did something to the pizza. And either way, he still came out and had like 45 points. It's like,
that's crazy.
So-
Is that
so
has
he's
to be
the
illegal,
MVP.
right? Like,
Oh,
kind
it
of
would
purposely. Yeah.
That was just the rumor because it was his trainer that said that, I think. Because he said nobody was sick. Like, nobody around him was sick. Like, they were all hanging out in a room together. And then all of a sudden he started feeling bad. And then, whatever it took place. Who knows? He may have actually been sick, but yeah. I will say that is crazy because I played a game one time. I had like 102 temperature and it was awful. I don't know how people play games sick. I think I was like 4 for 20 from the field. It was terrible. I was like, all I wanted to do was just lay in bed. I hear that sometimes. They're like, so-and-so has the flu playing a game. I was like, I don't know how they do that.
Oh, man. Your whole body hurts. Like, I mean, my skin hurts. It's like, I don't even want to.
When you're breathing, it feels like you're just breathing in like razor blades into your lungs. And every time you get bumped, you're like, oh, it's not fun.
The worst.
Not fun at all. Rogue Attraction has a good point. Walt would never let cast members have unions. That is for sure.
That's true.
Walt was very anti-union. He would not have allowed unions to get in
That is
there.
very true.
Nerdy Millennial has a point here. She says, considering when it was made, it's great storytelling for what was available at the time. Quaint. I don't think so nice. I don't think so since it's one of the most popular rides at Magic Kingdom. I mean, it stood the test of time too. I mean, Haunted Mansion, these rides, like I've even said too, if you open those today, I wonder where the fan base would be for it, but they've stood up for as long as they have.
But here's the thing too, is I think the simplicity is what has made those attractions so popular.
Yes.
Because it's simple
too. They overcomplicate stories. And a simple story many times really works. It's a timeless tale in many ways.
Right. I mean, look at Space Mountain. It's just a roller coaster in the dark. I mean, or Big Thunder. It's just a train going around, some rock work. I mean, there's not a whole lot there with it. With the biggest Disney attractions popularity wise, and the ones that have moved the needle culturally have had simple stories, nothing crazy, and I think for attractions, you kind of want simple stories. I think when you get a little too much in the weeds with the storylines and stuff, I think it gets a little hard to follow in this particular format,
Yes.
With a movie, that's different. A movie, a show, you can do that. But on an attraction, when you're kind of whizzing by, you can't be having all these complex, storylines and stuff. It doesn't work,
Right. Yeah, I agree. Xvoot for a 2. Thank you. Xvoot says Tim Duncan is the GOAT. I mean, he's probably the GOAT power forward, I would say. Slimer, are you a basketball fan? I know OG's really not much.
I used to watch it back in the day, man. Back in the 90s, I used to watch it, but I've been out of the game for a while.
I quit watching like 5 years ago. Duncan was amazing, undoubtedly. I never was a Duncan fan necessarily, but I always liked Chris Webber. And man, his game was so simple and he had good footwork and he would just bank shot you to death. Like, those guys were so frustrating to play against. Like, most of my life was spent playing basketball. I loved basketball, was my sport most of my life. And guys like Tim Duncan would drive you nuts because what they looked like they did was just like nothing big. And then you play against them and it's just fun. That's why they called it the big fundamental. It just break you down on the simple stuff. And you're just like, what the? And you look up and they got like 32 points, 10 rebounds. You're just like, good Lord. Like, it wasn't flashy, but it's damn effective.
Yeah.
So as a power forward, I would agree. Probably. I don't know it's a good conversation to have there about best power forwards. But
real quick, Jared, too, before we move on. Even when it comes to, and I've said this many times, when it comes to nighttime entertainment, I think simplicity sort of most of the time. I don't like to do absolutes because there's always going to be an exception, but I think simplicity also kind of runs the day, where it's like there's something very simple and magical over the castle and just having fireworks over the castle.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing crazy going on. Most of the time, it's just fireworks, right? Even World of Color, you know, my favorite scene in that whole show was the scene where it's just blue fountains and blue lighting with the Little Mermaid music.
Yep.
Very little going on there, but the simplicity really kind of, it just gives you goosebumps, right? I find myself more drawn to something like that than like when they do World of Color and they have like every laser and effects on at once and you don't even know where to look, right? So I think a lot of times the simplicity sort of just, it's all you need sometimes, you know? You don't need to go overboard, you know?
Yep. There's a quote, I can't remember exactly, but essentially it was saying simplicity is like it involves mastery. Like if you can tell a simple story, like you've mastered the simple story, which is, I guess you could say complication would be almost like a jack of all trades. Like you're okay at a bunch of stuff, but you're not mastery at one thing. And I agree. I think simplicity in life and many times in business and in storytelling ends up having a more lasting effect that, you know, that's one reason I don't like multiverse stories, like from the comics. I hate them because they just get so convoluted and nothing means anything. And you're just like, I would rather have a story where Spider-Man's in Brooklyn fighting local criminals and maybe he has like the Green Goblin show up. Like, I don't need this. Like he's in the third dimension and there's 15 different Spider-Man. You're just like, what in the world? Like, come on. Like, I think you can definitely get in the weeds when it comes to storytelling, undoubtedly.
I think a really good moniker for good storytelling in theme parks is that you can tell the story without using any words.
Yes.
And it's comprehensible.
Great.
And there's a beginning, a middle, and end. If you can achieve that, whether it's a ride or a show, you've mastered storytelling, because that's essentially what it should be. Because it has to be languageless, you know, it has to be coherent. You have to be, your mind has to be able to put it together without it being, you know, explicative. There can't be any exposition, and somehow you still get it, whether you're, you know, and it doesn't matter what country you're from. If you can do that, you're a master storyteller.
Yeah.
And I think that the rides that do that are the ones that have withstood the test of time.
Well said. Well said. And Kiki and Lucas said, Wizard is the man. Theme park Wizard is the man. I love that guy. He's amazing. What's up, Wizard?
We'll get Wizard on it maybe next week or the next one we do. I went on Wizard's podcast. You can go check that on his channel, I think, or maybe for members only. I can't remember which one it is, but Wizard and I had a good couple of conversations over there. He's definitely the guy. If I have questions about Hollywood, I ask Wizard because he usually knows it. I will say Rogue Attraction says Larry Bird is the GOAT and nobody will change my mind. I mean, Larry Bird's a bad dude. He was probably the best trash talker ever. I love old stories about Larry Bird trash talking, but I think Jordan was better personally, but you know, both are great. Xvoot for 5 says best team ever. Great video about the Spurs. Search the beautiful game. I'll check it out. Okay. Again, I'm just going to go with the Bulls, but it's a good conversation, but not for a theme parks live stream here. But before we get out of here, I want to hit a couple of news stories. Slimer, you had brought this up, and since it is Veterans Day, I think this is a good thing to talk about. And I don't recall this either. We were asking before we started the stream about if we recall Disney doing this before, and I don't remember them doing this. But Disney World announces special 250th anniversary. So going on with the other things they're doing for the 250th anniversary of Celebrate America with $499 annual pass for military families. So this is for the entirety of 2026. It says here they're introducing the Disney Celebrates America Military Salute Ticket. This commemorative ticket is available to eligible U.S. service members and their families for just $499 per person plus tax, granting you access to all 4 Disney theme parks throughout 2026. They're going to here continues the tradition of offering military salute tickets. So you can have park hopper option is $499, or excuse me, wait, with the park hopper. Oh, and then you have park hopper plus, which is $529 for the annual pass. I mean, I love seeing things like this. Like I said, I haven't served in the military, but I obviously, you know, Slimer and I are friends, and I have a lot of friends, and my family has been in the military, so I like seeing things like this. But I don't recall them doing a deal like this before. Do you guys?
I do not.
I think this is new.
Yeah, I love it though. I love it. It's a good way to honor our military, and you know, regardless of what people think about, you know, the politics of these things with various wars or this, that, and the other. I mean, there's no denying that the men and women of the military, they put their lives on the line, and I think it's great that Disney is paying respects to them by doing this for them and their families. So I absolutely love it. I hope this is something that stays from here on out. You know what I'm saying?
I would like to see that as well. Yeah. Slimer, are you going to get this pass, you think?
No, I think this is for military. So
is it current active military? Is that it?
Yeah, I think you're gonna have to be active.
Gotcha. Okay.
This, but you know, so to put it in perspective in terms of whether this is a good value or not. So Universal's Military Freedom Pass, I believe, it comes in at $299 starting, and that's for 2 parks. So this includes all 4 Disney parks for $499. So I would say this is a good value.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely. It didn't say anything, at least unless I missed in the article, about like blackout dates. Okay, it's valid January 1st through December 18th. So it looks like you don't get Christmas, but it doesn't say anything else about. Okay, there's blackout dates March 29th through April 11th and November 22nd through November 28th. So there's not many blackout dates with this.
Wow. So yeah, that's on the level of like a Sorcerer Pass.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna. And Sorcerer Pass is, what is that now? 1,600? Is it that high?
No, I think it's in the 700s.
Oh, I'm thinking of what. You're right. Okay.
Yeah,
they've switched up those passes now, and I can't remember what the pricing. I always do monthly payments, and I just never remember what they put the overall thing at.
Yeah, so that's less blackout dates than the Pirate Pass, which is what I have. But I think that's more in line with the Sorcerer. Or, I mean, that's a really good value.
Yeah, Rogue says it is half the price of Sorcerer Pass. He said it's 900. Okay,
wow, that's crazy.
I thought it was close to it. I thought I remember that pass being somewhere close to 1,000. But yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I think they should do this all the time. We've actually stayed at the what is that resort for military?
Shades of Green.
Shades of Green. A listener of ours. You can stay there if you're military or someone invites you. That is a really nice resort. Like huge rooms.
Yeah.
So I like to see more stuff like this, and yeah, I would love to see that. Maybe we'll see. I mean, Universal kind of already does this, so maybe they'll make a big announcement, follow suit in an advertising way. But I would like to see all these parks do this stuff. But is there any? You had some others. What was the other thing you want to talk about, Slimer?
The Pokemon theme park coming to.
Oh, that's right.
Japan, yeah.
We can talk about that real quick.
Pokemon.
Because this could give. Well, I don't know how much of a thing this will give us in terms of what might be coming if Universal does it, but it gives us an idea.
Well, that's interesting, right? If they're building a Pokemon park, that I would imagine that would have an impact on the Universal end of it to some degree. I don't know. I could be wrong, but that's interesting.
Yeah. So first Pokemon theme park opens February 2026 in Tokyo. So it's the first permanent Pokemon theme park. And it has, let's see if it has any other thing. They have a video here. Does the video have any mute? It's probably, let's see what the video says. Hold on, I gotta go to YouTube. Hold on. Gotta change over the screen here. Kick me out of here. There we go. Okay. The music's going to get us hit. I turned it down there. It's probably just showing a bunch of animation stuff. I mean, Pokemon is massive, and I've talked about before. If I have heard Pokemon is making it's going to show up at Universal. It is that would be massive. I mean, Pokemon alone. I was doing a little math on this to kind of compare it to the Nintendo to Wizarding World. Pokemon alone makes more money than Harry Potter as a franchise. Before you even get into Nintendo as a whole.
That's crazy.
And it's like, I've never been into Pokemon or anime, but I recognize how popular they are. And again, it's one of those like cross-generational things where you have people that grew up our ages playing it. Kids play it today. They just came out with a new Pokemon game, I think a couple weeks ago. So it's still a very relevant IP. So I think this will probably be huge in Tokyo. And I also imagine it'll be, if Universal ends up getting it, it'll be massive there. Yeah.
No, 100%. Well, even One Piece in the book world, I think recently just surpassed the Harry Potter books in terms of sales. So anime is just crushing it right now. It's changing the game.
Yeah, I think anime is gonna. We've talked about that numerous times about anime is gonna make a big impact, probably in the Universal parks and to be not in the Fan Fest out there in Hollywood. So I don't know, Slimer. What do you think? Are you a Pokemon fan?
No,
no. Okay.
No, I was already too old once Pokemon came around. I was there 3,000 years ago.
Never too old for Pokemon, Slimer. Never too old for Pokemon.
Got to catch them all, Slimer. I
Do
know
you guys think that this can inform us as to what the Pokemon land would look like once it eventually arrives to the United States?
I don't know. I mean, I suppose if there was something there that was like really groundbreaking, they might do it. I guess I'm looking through this article. I don't see anything other than they show a map and it has a Pokemon forest, an entrance plaza, and a sedge town. It doesn't look like there's any huge attractions. It looks like a carousel. You know, I guess it would just depend on the budget of this park and really, let's see. It says it will feature Pika Pika, I may have got that wrong, Paradise, a ride featuring over 30 electric type of Pokemon. There's a VV Voyage, a carousel, and balloon, as well as balloons, where visitors can ride with Eevee. So it doesn't seem like it's got like a ton of attractions. So I think it's probably a very different park than what Universal would do if they were to do it, I would assume.
The thing that worries me, though, is that we don't know the contract information with this. And does it prevent Universal from using these characters? I mean, that's a question because look, for example, the Marvel rights, we talked about that earlier.
Right.
Like Disney can't utilize those in Florida because of that contract. I don't know the contract for this Pokemon park, but I think it's an interesting question to pose because it could be a contract that limits Universal from doing it. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
It could in Japan, I suppose. That would be probably the bigger question is maybe over in Japan. Does it? Because I wonder if it would be different for the US. But yeah, I mean, like I said, there's tons of questions. Pokemon's been rumored for years. I don't know where that lies. And really, the people I've talked to, I never have gotten any specifics about it. It seems like it's a never change. Kind of like Zelda. It's like it's rumored to go here, then you hear it pop up here. So until it's announced, I mean, I always say with rumors, it just, you know, you can hope for it, but until it's officially announced or you see a permit pop up, I just always kind of take it with a grain of salt. I think it would be huge for them, but like you're saying, there's lots of questions about all the ownership with it. Would this mess them up in Tokyo or in Japan? But if they were able to get it, I mean, I think it would probably be beyond what we even understand of how big it would be.
Oh, it'd be huge.
What it would do.
I hope they get it. I really do. I want to see what they do with it.
Yeah. Skywalker Brian says, think of it as Studio Ghibli park for them, but just Pokemon, all scenic design and hardly rides, but more immersive experiences through, to be honest. Yeah, that's kind of what it would be a different type of park than what we're thinking about for like Disney World and Universal, I think, from looking at that. So, yeah, I mean, maybe it's where you go play Pokemon Go. You can get special characters. I know that was a thing there for a while.
I think you're right. I think that my takeaway from this park reveal is that there's a lot of assumptions we made about what a Pokemon park would look like. And I think a lot of them are wrong because I think Pokemon players just want to go play Pokemon. As simple as that. But they want to do it in like a dedicated space that's immersive, that makes them feel like they're in the world, but not necessarily riding rides. Does it make sense?
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah. I guess it definitely would depend on, like I said, I don't know the Pokemon fan base, so I don't know what they would want. And so that's a very good question. I wouldn't even attempt to actually act like I understand that.
Yeah. Well, then we're also factoring in Japanese culture, which is different too. So there's a whole bunch of things going on with this, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a very good question. I mean, if they're going to put it in the Universal parks, like they're not going to do that type of park that they're doing there. I'm sure they would get panned if they had a park that just had a carousel and a thing here. And they, you know, even if Pokemon fans liked it, I think people would be like, what the heck is this? But you know, it's a good question in terms of like, I think Disney's going to go the route with video games much more digital. That's kind of what they're teasing out about, like Epic Games and Fortnite. Obviously, the Super Nintendo world is much more physical. Where would a Pokemon lie? Would it be more digital experience? Would it be more physical? And like, I think that'll be the two differentiating factors between Universal and Disney of how they approach implementing more video games, because they're both going to do it. I think Universal has a huge leg up with Nintendo.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I think that's going to be, you're going to see it coming to the parks more and more. It's just kind of, what do people want from it? Do they want more screens? Like, that's the thing I've said as a parent. Like, do you want to take your kids to a theme park just to put them in front of another screen?
Right.
No, I agree with you on that. Yeah, the screen thing I think there's ways to utilize that. You want to utilize it and have it a tool in your toolbox, but you don't want to go overboard with it. You know,
Right.
you got to use it very judiciously, so to speak.
Yeah.
Kiki and Luca, I know you've been to Japan. Is Pokemon culture different in America than it is in Japan? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, absolutely.
Might be different, but well, before Kiki answers, we'll probably wrap it up here. We've been going for about 2 hours now, and we got a lot. We had some good conversations. I think the Walt stuff was really good to talk about because I think there's legitimate criticism with what Iger said, but you know, like I said, we weren't like saying he should be. I mean, given he's about to retire anyways, we're not calling for him to be fired, but you know, interesting choice of words. But it's always a good time to chat in here. You guys have been amazing. Ex-Voot with tons of super chats in here. We got Kiki and Luca had a member message, and all you guys in the comments definitely appreciate it. It was going so fast, I had a hard time keeping up. So it's a fun thing when that's a good problem to have. So if we missed any comments, we will get us on the next one. We'll try. Honestly, I think you can slow the chat down. We may have to do that, to be quite honest.
Okay. Hey, that's a good problem to have. Appreciate it. You know,
it's a good problem to have for sure. Before we go though, just let everybody know where they can find you guys. OG, thank you for being here as always. And where can everybody find you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you, Jared, for being an amazing host as always. Slimer, always a good time, brother. Happy Veterans Day. If you are watching this on Capture the Magic, you can find me on YouTube, Orange Grove 55. You can also find me on Instagram, Orange Grove 55. I also want to thank the chat, Kiki and Luca, Skywalker Brian, Mr. Tones, Poppy, Bad Thought Studio, everybody in the chat today. Cassandra, we had a blast. Appreciate you all.
Absolutely. And I will say OGs and Slimer stuff will be in the description on my end. So yeah, if you guys are watching on Capture the Magic, you haven't subscribed over on either of these two gentlemen's internet wares, go do so. OG's got you have a lot of guests on talking about the West Coast stuff. So if you want to know about West Coast things, OG is definitely your guy to check out. And you also talk about East Coast though too, to be fair.
Yeah. No, yeah.
You guys are you guys still coming over in March to the East Coast?
I'm not,
okay.
But some of the guys are. I know Conductor is.
All right, there we go.
And our good friend Tommy Toon.
All right, and Slimer, where can everybody find you? And again, happy Veterans Day. Thank you for being here. And where can everybody find you on the interwebs?
Yeah, so you can find me on at Slime Square 84, all social media. On YouTube, I'm at Slime Square. And thanks for everybody joining. We really appreciate it. Thanks for keeping the conversations going. We love talking about theme parks, and we love it when you guys are talking about theme parks. So keep it coming. Make sure you go like and subscribe. Capture the Magic. Make sure you like and subscribe. Orange Grove 55, as they do have their own channels. And this is a collaborative thing that we do on a weekly, bi-weekly, everyday basis. I don't know.
At least every day. Starting daily tomorrow. Yeah, at least bi-weekly. But yeah.
But I do want to answer Bad Thought Studios real quick. If I could have any ride, my guy, I got to stay on brand. It's going to be Ghostbusters.
There we go.
I mean, that is, I would like to see a Ghostbusters ride. That's for sure.
Right. With that Fast and Furious drift technology, man. And you're like, you're shooting the ghost while you're drifting. Oh man, that'd be sick.
That would be cool. That'd be awesome.
I want real nuclear proton streams, please.
That's all you need. That's all you need.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
Before
we go, it's almost, Black Friday's coming up, and CTM Apparel, we have our own apparel line. I have a lot of shirts. I actually was wanting to get these on here before the stream, and I couldn't get it done in time. There are some new designs hitting the shop, and since it's going to be Black Friday, instead of getting caught up in all that stuff, starting tomorrow with the promo code Black Friday, you'll get 25% off, so you guys can get the Black Friday discounts for like a few weeks instead of just like one weekend or whatever. Instead of 500,000 different shops doing that, kind of starting a little early. So if you go to ctmapparelco.com, use the promo code Black Friday, you get 25% off, and I'll be adding some new designs tomorrow onto the website. Got some Christmas designs and some other ones that I've been throwing around there. So always updating stuff there. But if you want to go check that out, support the channel, you get yourself some good shirts. If you're going to theme parks, there's lounging around, or get some Christmas gifts, ctmapparelco.com is where you can go for that, and use the promo code Black Friday. So thank you, everybody, yet again for being here. Greatly appreciated. All the super chats, the member messages, all that stuff. And we will see you guys on the next one. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Good evening. Tempers flared at Universal Studios tonight when the park ran out of its signature drink, butterbeer. What started as disappointment soon grew into a noisy confrontation with security and police.
Merry Christmas. Ho, ho, ho. It's Christmas. Yeah. Sleigh bells ring. It's Christmas. Gift in my hand. It's Christmas. Rapid quick, more Christmas. Right up the block. It's Christmas. Yeah.
Yo, move! Back up!
Get ready to blast beyond your imagination at the all-new Epic Universe theme park.
It's the adventure of every world in one place.
Thrill through twisting coasters, journey through cosmic frontiers, and end your night under dazzling...
Buckle up, time travelers. Blast through the past, rocket to the future, and hang on tight as you chase the clock in the ultimate adventure. It's fast, it's furious, and it's only at Universal Studios Orlando. Back to the...
Hello, neighbor. Welcome to the Capture the Magic channel. I'm so glad you found your way here. I've heard that the host, Jared, is a very handsome and charming guy. And you know something? I think you'll enjoy listening to him a whole lot.